We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is a series regular now. Guy Devin is a PhD at the University of Maryland, and Guy is very knowledgeable in wellness and has a long track record in the profession. Guy, welcome back to Here's to Your Health. Hello.
Hello, Josh. How are you doing?
Very good. Happy to have you here visiting me again.
Yeah, it's great.
You have represented a number of interesting and innovative companies. Actives was on just very recently.
Yes.
And you now have a new company that you are happy with their work?
Absolutely. Harmonic Enterprises.
Harmonic Enterprises. Harmonic Enterprises.
Harmonic Enterprises.
Which is a very interesting kind of name. And what is their specialty?
Well, their specialty is really the innovation of using minerals and specific minerals that are created in one area of the country. And we have the rights to that land. And what happened there was a meteorite struck right between California and Nevada up in the High Sierra Mountains. And where the impact and the intense heat of that impact literally changed the geological structure of the elements found in the land there. And so we mine those minerals, and they have very specific properties of which, we'll get into in this segment here.
All right. And what's the name of the company again?
Harmonic Enterprises.
Harmonic Enterprises. And how long have they been around?
About 25 years.
And so they work with minerals.
They work with minerals. We also have some very specific supplements. We have a Life Source Super Sprouts, which is an incredible blend of seagrasses and hydrilla and sprouted grains like amaranth and quinoa. We have your typical vitamin Ds. Well, I say typical only that it's a vitamin D. It's certainly not typical. And we go to great lengths that whenever we're putting a formulation together, we look at how those ingredients that are going to go into that formula, how they harmonize, how synergistic are they. We don't just throw stuff together because it happens to be the trendy molecule of the week.
Right, which is, as we were chatting before the show started, is a very fair criticism of some formulations that just kind of think, oh, this is popular now, we'll put this in with this and this and this, without any real science to determine, are these beneficial, are they synergistic, is there possibly some sort of antagonism which could occur. Also, we were chatting before the show went on about the idea of detoxification.
Right.
And how important that really is as a concept. And what is your product with that?
Yeah, we have a new product called Toxin Therapy. And Josh, this is coming at a most critical time. Fukushima, the accident at Fukushima from the earthquake happened almost 2 years ago now. And now we're starting to see, especially on the West Coast, the fallout from that has kind of polluted the waterways and the oceans, and the tuna showing up testing for cesium and heavy metals from radiation. We have 14 wars being waged on the planet right now that are using depleted uranium as ordnance. And as a Vietnam...
Really? As ordnance?
Yeah. So as a Vietnam vet, this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. How can we detoxify every day from these chemicals? And organic fields are not, separated from that fallout, so to speak.
Right.
Because there's no way no way to shelter that. So we have to be very careful, and we do our best. And I know a lot of organic farmers do their best to make sure they're testing for these molecules. And then when you think about it, not only Fukushima, but we had Chernobyl. What's that been? 25 years ago now. So there's been a lot of heavy metal and radiation fallout. Our technology is coming into play. Electromagnetic fields wreak havoc on our body. The geopathic stress just from the earth moving and growing. It's a living, breathing organism. So why wouldn't that be the case? So toxin therapy is a joyful, gentle way to really detox the heavy metals out of the body, not put somebody into a healing crisis, but very effective at removing those metals. Things like mercury, lead, the cesium, any different types of radiation-151, these kind of molecules. So we're very excited about this product, and it's just taking off.
What's it called again?
It's called Toxin Therapy.
And how do I use it?
It comes in a capsule form, 2 capsules a day, and you're off to the races.
I take 1 breakfast, 1 dinner?
1 breakfast, 1 dinner, 1 breakfast, 1 after lunch. Take it about 20 minutes to half an hour away from food.
And what does it do for me?
It's going to detoxify the heavy metals that are in the body that tend to accumulate in the tissue. So take somebody who may be experiencing like arthritis, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis. The inflammation that gets caused by that is sometimes precipitated by having heavy metals in the body. A lot of lead, mercury. Those of us that are of age probably had some dental work with some amalgam fillings, so there's that possibility.
And amalgam fillings are half mercury.
Half mercury, right. So, and some lead, some tin in there. So when we think about some of the allergies that are now building up in our bodies, what I call the body burden over the years, early on in our youth, we didn't seem to think that, we're indestructible. Nothing's going to happen to us. But as we age, and we're at that place, that's very special in time right now, we've got to start thinking about, I never had an allergy before, but now I do. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back. The tissue is saturated, and now one more bite of a wheat or a gluten or any kind of intolerance that's showing up, the toxin therapy can really help with that.
Right. So you're saying that a person could be healthy,
Right.
and then all of a sudden, something they've been doing for a very long time or a combination, suddenly they think, I just can't sustain, I just can't do that anymore, right?
Right.
And is there a concept for that? Is there a term for that?
I don't know that there's really a term or a concept for that. I like to call it the body burden, and it's just as we're aging, these things are just, accumulating in the body, if you would. So what can we do to make sure we're detoxing on a daily basis? There's a lot of detox programs out there. We can detox the liver, the spleen, all these things.
And that has some merit. That will have some merit.
It has great merit. But what if you could eat in a way or supplement in a way that you could detox on a daily basis so that you wouldn't have the uncomfortable experience of what some of these, what I call clean slate therapies do? Think about taking an antibiotic. Well, every time you're doing that or anytime you're doing some of these more clean slate therapies, you're wiping out your good flora. Right. Then, bad bacteria in that has the opportunistic event of maybe gathering some ground and crowding out the good bacteria. So we want to maintain that on a daily basis. That's why things like acidophilus are so critical to probiotics, literally meaning acid off of us. So when we think about maintaining an alkaline state in the body, this is how you would do it.
Guy, where'd you get your PhD?
PhD?
Yeah. Where?
Rockville University, Maryland.
And what specialty?
Science, nutritional science.
Nutritional science.
Certified clinical nutritionist, nutritional science, and of course, all the preamble to that and, cellular biology and anatomy, physiology.
That just made sense to you because nutrition now is very, very popular. Everyone acknowledges the value of it. But when you got your PhD, was it considered kind of a new field?
Totally a new field.
Right, new field, right.
Because there really wasn't anything in any of the major schools like Harvard or Stanford or UC Davis. They were thinking about that stuff. And outside of just basic biology and maybe some food chemistry, but nutrition is everything now. People talk about being a vegan or a vegetarian. I like to talk about being a nutritarian. How can I eat in a way that I'm getting nutrition into my body? That's really what's most important. And then paying attention to, I know my body, so when I feel into my body, maybe I don't do so well with dairy where somebody else may, or I don't do so well with wheat, somebody else may. So rather than make anything a religion, so to speak, it's really about knowing and understanding your body, how your body's responding. If you eat a thing and it gives you energy and you feel good, that would be a good thing. If it brings you down, you feel like you're tired all the time, maybe that's not such a good thing. Right. So what can we do to change that?
And if I use the detox formulation that you're showing, this is a broad question. How soon before I think, I feel better? Do I feel better in a day or in a week or in a month? Or what am I looking for?
When you're detoxing the body, and like in my case, being 60, this has been accumulating for some time, so it's going to take some time. It's not a get fixed quick kind of a program. But as you start loading the toxin therapy into the body, usually around 2 to 3 weeks, then you'll start noticing that, you're feeling a little bit better. Maybe even some of the sugar cravings go away.
Oh.
And the reason for that would be that some of those metallic tastes within the body and within the tissue can kind of precipitate that, because you have not only your body letting go and releasing that, but then you also might have some issues with candida that are spurring you to eat more of a certain food or take in more carbohydrates than you normally would otherwise.
And candida, as a term, a lot of people have heard that term. What is candida? And in your opinion, what is one of the principal reasons why many Americans or everyone else has candida now?
Well, I think one of the biggest issues, candida is what we call Candida albicans. So it's a bacteria, microorganism, if you would. We have 55 trillion plus cells in the body, eavesdropping on our every thought, behavior, and the food we're putting in.
55 how many?
55 trillion plus cells.
In each one of us.
In each one of us. So we're this microcosm of a macrocosm of a universe. And if that wasn't enough, we have over 200 trillion microorganisms in and on the body. So that's like a 10-to-1 ratio.
Right.
Candida is just one of those things that can give us fits. My sense of why it's becoming such a major issue now is with the things that we've done to the food and how we've adulterated food and how we're kind of using food as an escapism, if you would, and sugar cravings and setting people up for diabetes and Lord knows the genetically modified components of the food that we're eating. This is kind of contributing to that. So what happens is maybe you're not digesting your food properly, so that food's going to sit in the gut and just kind of ferment. So think of fermenting a beer or a wine, and at some point in time, that's going to expand. So now you get this bloating, and then it leads into some inflammatory compounds being made and released. It overstimulates histamine production in the body. So these are what create some of those intolerances to some of the food. The body just can't get rid of it fast enough or doesn't have the right nutrients to deal with that. So we have a product called Infused Candida. This is a homeopathic remedy that looks at the 4 different types of Candida albicans, and in our science has shown to kill the Candida in less than 3 days. So
that's impressive.
It's one of our top-selling products.
Do you think also that the overuse of antibiotics has been a significant contributing factor to candidiasis?
Yes, and most people don't realize it may be that they've had a couple courses throughout their lifetime, but it's the amount of antibiotics that they're getting through their food. Mm-hmm. That's really where the issue is.
I see.
Especially if you're a carnivore, and there's nothing wrong with meat. It's what we've done to the meat. That's what makes it.
And what's in your candidiasis formulation?
It's 3 specific herbs, but it's also the homeopathic presentation of the electromagnetic field of those Candida albicans, that when you take it into the body recognizes that, and it modulates your immune system to send the necessary molecules to wipe it out.
And because a formulation is homeopathic, you're allowed to make specific healing claims.
Well, yes and no. We don't really call it a homeopathic, although it's exactly a homeopathic. We call it infused. So having a true homeopathic to get a drug fact panel on the bottle has to do with going to GMP certification, get a pharmaceutical license for homeopathy, and so it's so we call it an essence, if you will. Right. Not unlike a flower essence, like a rescue remedy or what have you.
And this keeps it herbal.
Those are herbal. Right. Those are herbal, plant-based. And what we're doing is we're using the electromagnetic signature, which is non-toxic to the body and can help the body to modulate the body's response to any particular situation, whether it's a stress response or whatever the case may be.
Now, you use the word electromagnetic signature, and I really, kind of understand the term, I think, a little bit. But can you explain to my listening audience what that term means? Because it's not widely used, that term.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. All of us have an energy. So if you go to the hospital because you're having heart issues, they may do an EEG or an EKG. These are 2 medical scientific devices that measure the input and output of frequency in the body. If you get a thermography done, which is the body looking at the heat generated and how the colors show up on that thermography panel, determines what the levels of friction. So since we're all energy, we're moving constantly, that creates friction. That friction creates a frequency and a vibration, and that's how we're looking at it. Also, if you think about every nerve cell in your body coming down through your spine, going out into your organs, those neurons have an axon of the nerve between what they call the synapses, which would go into, say, your spleen, and the other end that's going into the brainstem in your main central nervous system. Mm-hmm. In between that, the axon is what has an electromagnetic field around it. And that field can be disrupted by any number of different things, from physical chemical toxicity, magnetic frequency and vibration. So when we think about some of the dangers of cell phones and these kind of things, that's really what they're measuring. So if you get a CAT scan or you get an MRI, electromagnetic resonance, so it's measuring that field of energy around the body. Right. So we try to put our formulas together in a way that it will take out the negative frequency and replace it with the proper frequency.
Alrighty, that's a little out of my realm of expertise,
right? But
obviously, it seems to be it's probably mainstream science. I just don't know it. Is that it? It's actually pretty mainstream.
Yeah, it's mainstream. It's called quantum physics.
Oh, quantum. Okay, in that case, I know zip about that. I probably skipped those classes for sure. What about the formulations you have with gold? I see over there. What is that?
So we have a group of minerals called monatomic minerals. Mono means one atom structures. So it's a very, very, very small structure. Let's say everybody's heard of magnesium. Say that's got an atomic weight of 38. So that's 38 different electrons and atoms in that structure. So it's a very big structure. But what we need is just a little bit of electro signal from the minerals. So if you have a car battery, if you don't replace the electrolytes in that car battery, that battery is going to go dead. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same in our body. If we don't stay hydrated, if we don't get the right amount of minerals, trace minerals in the body, all the biochemical process could be functioning fine, but if that's not functioning, you're not going to be alive. Right. So we're feeding the body minerals that literally would chaperone the biochemical things that we're taking in the way of our food. Putting the mineral to it creates the energy so that our enzymes can digest that food and utilize all the life force within that food that we're eating, getting the phytonutrients, the polyphenols, the flavonols, all the phytonutrients. That's really what's sustaining our body.
Alrighty. And how do I use the gold formula?
So the gold formula is really about focusing the brain. And in our double-blind human-controlled studies, the gold drops us from a beta brainwave state, which is what we're at right now, about 25 megahertz. Megahertz is simply a measurement of electrical output. Right. So in a beta state...
I'll take your word for it.
So in a beta state, that's the worst place we could be for learning information. What if we could get into an alpha state? So that would be like if you were doing a focused meditation. And so imagine being fully awake, fully conscious. It moves you out of the stress, fight, or flight syndrome part of the brain, and the amygdala moves you to the prefrontal cortex in the brain, allows you to have focus, concentration, good hand-to-eye coordination. This is great for athletes. People that are dealing with concentration issues, ADD, ADHD, all the monatomics come in a spray, comes in a capsule, comes in a powder form. So you can dose therapeutically with the powder. You can just take a capsule for maintenance. You can use a spray as just kind of a pick-me-up during the day.
So for you as an educator, do you find when you try them, the gold spray or capsules, that you just feel more focus, more energy? Do you feel anything?
Yes, I feel more focus and concentration. So I do a lot of writing. I read a lot of articles for a lot of the trade journals in the industry. So when I'm writing or doing kind of any type of concentrated brain activity, I use the gold all the time. Like before coming on the show, I took some gold to help me be focused and concentrate on your questions and get the information out. Then we have a monatomic black. A lot of people have allergic reactions. We were talking about that just before the show started. Right. And so we want to negate that allergic reaction. So what happens in an intolerance or an allergic reaction is the body overproduces mast cells. These are part of your immune system.
Mast cells.
Mast cells. Mm-hmm. The immune system's looking at that going, oh, that's a foreign substance. But what happens is it overproduces, and some very specific enzyme get released, histamine, and then that's coursing through your body, and you start to get a reaction. Could be an itchy skin, could be some rash, any number. Anaphylactic shock, you stop breathing, not a good thing.
No, not a good thing.
So we want to negate that signaling from the immune system to the body to modulate it so that the body doesn't overreact. So the black helps in any kind of overreaction from an allergic response. Also, if people have a tendency to enjoy a drink every now and then, it will change the frequency of the alcohol. You're still going to get drunk. Don't drive and drink. However, it will negate the negative side of that frequency, so that it won't have an effect on the liver.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, guy, it's a good thing you're a PhD. So what's in that product?
What's in that product is simply a mineral along with 66 trace minerals. So it's a combination of trace minerals and monatomic minerals. And again, minerals are critical to how the cellular response in the body works or doesn't work.
Well, let me just say this, both for myself and for my viewers. So what was the first time they isolated? Wasn't it Casimir Funk, Polish biochemist, who found the vitamin hypothesis? Was it 1908? Before that, they were just nutritional unknowns. They didn't really know. I mean, they knew it was phosphorus, but they didn't really know it was in food. And then suddenly, by the 20s, they were naming vitamins: vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C.
Correct.
And before that, people thought, they had no idea. So is this actually a little bit of the same field,
right?
But somehow it just seems more subtle, that it's just like, okay, we know there's vitamin C, but there's probably 75 constituents to that. Is that what we're talking about now?
Right.
Okay.
So we're looking at the subtle fields of that especially. And so we have, because of the structure of trace minerals versus a monatomic mineral, one atom structure being different from multiple atom structures. So they work differently with your enzymes and your probiotics. So you can literally calculate a response. And so in the science, negating those allergic responses. When we think about heart, heart produces more electrical current than the brain does.
Heart's our biggest muscle, is it not?
Exactly.
I'm sure it's the biggest muscle. It's a big muscle, yes.
It's a big muscle. I mean, it's really running a lot of cleansing and clearing of the blood, keeping that purified, oxygenating the blood, moving nutrients here and there throughout the body and circulation. So with cholesterol or hypertension, high blood pressure, which can be very emotionally based, and so the stress cycle of that then creates a whole cascade of inflammatory compounds. So the monatomic pink really helps to neutralize those effects in the body. People that may be suffering from a loss of a loved one or a loss of a pet or have some grief issues, this is very helpful for that, because we're regulating the stress in the body, so other chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline don't really take over.
Excuse me. Now, for example, on the gold spray and the gold capsules, so those are free of alcohol, or there alcohol in those products?
There's no alcohol in those products.
All right. Because alcohol could be problematic. Some people feel alcohol is a great carrier and a great preservative of nutrients, which I completely agree with. But a lot of people, that my experience has been, you don't want to give them any product with alcohol. They react to alcohol.
Right. And one of our tenets is to do no harm.
Right. That's an important
So we
right.
pay very much close attention to that.
What is in your liquids? What's the carrier for your glycerin?
So the carrier is a structured water.
Oh, just
with
structured water.
with a little bit of a lemon extract. It doesn't really need a preservative, but we put that in there just for that, so it extends the life shelf.
Does the FDA require that? the lemon extract preservative?
On some products, yes. Only because they don't really understand that you really don't need it, but we just put it in there because then we don't have to deal with it.
Is it so? You're saying that scientifically, you can manufacture a nutritional product in a liquid form that does not require preservatives?
Correct.
Okay, is that pretty new?
Not really. It's been going on for about the last 20 years.
All right.
So some of your more energetically oriented companies, a lot of homeopathic companies, they do a pretty good job at using structured water. So what we're doing is we're changing the molecular structure of that water. It's holding the energy field, if you would, or the constituent from those minerals or trace minerals, and that allows it to be in suspension and utilized by the body. There's nothing microbial that can really attack that.
All right.
So it's kind of like a protection around it.
All right.
Kind of like a bug zapper, if you would. Nothing could get in there.
Okay, I did not know this, and I've always thought, well, how could this be everything on the label? Where's the preservative in a liquid? I thought, oh no, it gets bacteria. But okay, it's nice to learn some new stuff.
Right.
And on the gold drops, what do I do? A spray like every couple of hours, 3 times a day? How do I do it?
Well, it's just going on how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. So I like to take a capsule, which is going through my digestion. It takes a little bit longer to have an effect in the body, typically about 20 minutes. And then I sustain that all throughout the day with using the spray. And there's no hard and fast set rule as far as how many times you would want to use it. Just as you start to feel like, I'm losing my focus and concentration, let me just spray 3 sprays real quick, because then that absorbs subcutaneously right in through the membrane in the mouth, right into the bloodstream, right to where it needs to go to have an effect on the brain focus and activity.
And Guy, how can I get these products?
You can go to harmonicenterprises.com. You'll find that they're at several of the best stores in the valley. Lassen's. We're working on Whole Foods currently. Working on Sprouts currently. A lot of great stores. A lot of independent stores, really. That's kind of been where our focus is.
Sure, because the independent store has always been the traditional place for the non-traditional remedy. That's
Right.
what they say about us, and that's very fair. And also in the natural food stores, the independent stores, the owners have a stake in teaching people who come in. That's it's
Exactly.
what they've always done. It's what they do. It's what you do, really.
Right, and having been an independent store owner, I have a great heart for the independents out there. And we're the ones who really put this category
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
the marketplace.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
for sure.
so
Yeah.
as a company, as a manufacturer, we like to honor that and honor our independents, and we're so grateful and thankful that they represent our products.
And how can you give me the website so I can kind of contact them if I can, check it out?
Yes, so it's www.harmonicenterprises.com. So Inner is INNERPRIZES.com.
Now, what else besides the gold? Is the gold one of the principal items you have?
The gold is one of the top selling items that we have. The next one would be the red. The monatomic red is really helpful for people that may feel fearful sometimes about making decisions in their lives. Something happened in their youth that they made a decision only to be told that was the wrong decision. And so now as an adult, they're forever stuck and they can't commit and make decisions. But the great thing about decision making is just make it, because you're going to get instant feedback, instant contrast. So you'll know if it's the right decision or not. So we can ease the stress that can get released through the body and then start a whole inflammatory cascade in the body and the nervous system. So the red really helps to integrate our mind in our body. So we're looking at really true mind, body, spirit, help in the nutrients that we make.
That one's called what again? Red?
The red, the monatomic red.
Now, monatomic again means what?
Single atom structure. So we want to move the body with the least amount of effort as possible. We were talking earlier about there's lots of formulas out there that may have 60 or 70 or 80 different ingredients.
Right.
The body knows how to heal itself. Just needs a little bit of help. So it's kind of like not watering your rose garden with a fire hose. Probably not a good idea.
No, that's a very interesting analogy. I certainly buy into that analogy. So again, you mentioned that magnesium has how many atoms?
It's around 38.
And how many in
It's
the
actually the electrons that create
I'm
the
sorry,
atomic
38.
weight.
And in your gold formulation, how many?
It's one.
And that's good science?
That's all you need.
That's actually good science, really?
Yeah, and we actually have the studies on that. Unfortunately, I didn't bring it with me, but you can go to our website and all the information is right there, literally showing during the EKGs and the brain activity the difference and change in the brain pattern, megahertz output in the brain.
All right. And give me the Inner Harmonics website once again.
So it's harmonicenterprises.com.
Harmonicenterprises,
Right.
That's actually pretty easy.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
very
actually
good.
pretty.
And what
So-
else?
So the concept there is harmonizing your body, getting inside, taking you to your highest and greatest good, and there you'll discover a prize, and that prize is you.
That sounds good. Well, Guy Devitt, it's been fun having you on the show, and I think I understood some of what you said. It was great. I'm sure my audience enjoyed it.
Right.
We'll have you back on again.
Yeah, and we'll bring it down to earth.
Very good.
Okay, Josh, thank you.
This is Josh Lane, and you're listening to us today. This is Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke.
commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute. Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host. My next special guest is Dr. Mary Newport. Dr. Newport, you've seen her on 700 Club. She was actually on this show several years ago. An important wellness physician who has a book called Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? And this is a very personal story for Dr. Newport. Her husband, unfortunately, became ill with Alzheimer's, and Mary Newport brought her husband back. Mary Newport, welcome to Here's to Your Health. Dr. Newport. We seem to be waiting for Dr. Newport to come on the phone. And it's a basic health book. Basic Health has been very supportive of this show. Many of their authors have been on. Dr. Newport? Oh, okay. I'll just read to you about Dr. Newport. Dr. Newport lives in Tampa Bay area, Florida. She is a full-time physician there. And in 2008, Dr. Newport wrote an article, What If There Was a Cure for Alzheimer's Disease and No One Knew? About a dietary measure that produces ketones that may set back the disease's progression.
Hello?
Oh, Dr. Newport, hi, it's Josh Lane.
Hi. I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. I don't know what was happening there.
Oh, very glad you're on the show, and I'd like to thank you for being on. And you were on it several years ago, by the way, on my show.
Yeah,
I know you do many shows. Well, you are a physician, and you wrote a book about Alzheimer's disease, and unfortunately, the problem affected your husband. So how is the health of your husband now?
Well, tomorrow is actually the 6th anniversary of the day he started taking coconut oil.
Uh-huh.
And he did, very well. The first year he improved quite a lot, and then he stabilized, and he had an occasional mild setback at that point. Now, recently, the last year, he has had some more medical problems. He started having seizures about a year ago. And he was on some anticonvulsants that were causing him to be weak and that type of thing. But he's hanging in there.
All righty. Now, for the listeners who would be interested in reading your book, Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? What did you do as a physician that really helped your husband? Obviously, coconut oil is great. And what were the other additional things that you did? And what did you cut out of your hubby's diet and your own diet? And what was the whole protocol?
Well, one of the first things that we did was to drastically change our diet. We were on what I call the convenience diet for decades.
Right.
We've been married for 42 years now. And, as a physician, I did not get much nutrition training in medical school, maybe one afternoon, which most people would probably be very surprised to hear.
Right.
And even today, doctors don't get that much training in nutrition. We learn a lot of biochemistry, but not how to eat and what foods cause disease and that type of thing. But anyway, I started researching it a lot more because I started recognizing that foods could play a role in a disease like Alzheimer's. And so, basically we cut out all the packaged foods and, foods with additives and went to much more of a whole food diet and more Mediterranean style diet with more fresh fruits and vegetables, especially vegetables, eggs, nuts, whole foods, and trying to stay away as much as possible from packaged foods and from fast food restaurants. High fructose corn syrup and trans fats, all of those can be damaging, for people with this disease. And then another thing we did was adding more fish oil, especially the omega-3 DHA, to his diet, to both of our diets, really, but more so to him. There was a study that was underway at that time looking at the effect of DHA in Alzheimer's disease,
Yes.
and they were using 900 milligrams a day as a dose. And I thought, why would I want to put him in a study where this is an essential fatty acid that we're supposed to get, that he would either get that or not get it? And so I just started adding that to our diet, and that was around 2006.
And Dr. Newport,
And-
excuse me.
Okay, go ahead.
You are a physician, and you have a great science background and practicing physician. When you began to modify your own diet, how long before you thought to yourself, oh my goodness, this is kicking in as a therapy. This seems to work for me?
Probably within a few days. The biggest thing I saw the first few days was that my carb craving went away.
Huh?
And I think, there was just a lot of sugar. There's a lot of added sugar in packaged frozen foods, and even in milk and things you don't even think about. There's a lot of added sugar, and getting away from all of that made a big difference because I stopped craving carbohydrates all the time. So basically, we went on a much lower carbohydrate diet without really intending so much to do so at that point. And then later it did kind of evolve to a lower carb diet where we eliminated almost all of the bread and pasta and, that type of thing from our diet. Cereals, like cold cereals and things that tend to have a lot of sugar. We ended up eliminating a lot of that too. And the biggest thing for me is, my whole life I was constantly hungry. I'd eat and I'd be hungry, feeling like I still needed more to eat, and it was that carbohydrate. I think the insulin spiking and all of that happens when you eat sugar.
When you
I was just happier in
Right.
general because I wasn't hungry all the time.
Right. And when you find you didn't have these carb cravings anymore, so what were you focusing on eating? Were you eating, protein with every meal? I mean, what was the little couple of secrets?
Yeah, well, some of the secrets were, for example, for a snack at bedtime, I used to have cereal and milk, and I'd wake up hungry around 4 or 5 in the morning a lot and come out in the kitchen looking for something to eat. And, I switched to eating more protein and fat, but especially protein for snacks seems to help a lot. Like they have those little 100-calorie, snack bars and things.
Yes.
Those, if I would eat one of those, I just want another one right away. But if I eat 100 calories worth of something like cheese or nuts, I don't get that same feeling, and it's much more satisfying. It tends to tide you over longer, I think. And so, I basically have cheese and nuts in the evening as a snack now, and coconut milk instead of cereal, and I get all the way through the night without waking up hungry at all. So I think that's one of the secrets, is to include some protein probably at every meal and snack.
And Doctor, we're speaking with Dr. Mary T. Newport. Dr. Newport, could you please tell my listening audience, what are the protein foods besides nuts and seeds and cheese? What else?
Eggs.
Uh-huh.
Eggs are a good one. Chicken, fish, beef is a protein. We don't eat a lot of beef. Maybe once or twice a month we might have some beef. But we tend to eat a lot of fish and chicken. And then for me, my main protein as a snack is cheese.
Right.
I know some people stay away from dairy. For me, that doesn't seem to be a problem for Steve or I. So.
And for your hubby, Steve, he also does the protocol you have discovered works, the protein, say, with each meal. Is that kind of what he's also doing?
Yes. And he gets a lot of eggs. And there's a kind of a myth out there that eggs raise your cholesterol. For years they told us not to eat eggs, and now they're saying, oh, maybe 3 eggs a week are okay. But Steve, he gets about 5 to 6 eggs a day. They're the perfect protein. Basically for humans, there's a certain group of amino acids that we need to get from our proteins in order to make quality proteins ourselves, and eggs just happen to be one of the perfect proteins for us based on the type of amino acids in it. So, and his cholesterol level is under 200, and that's with a lot of coconut oil and eggs. So they tend to raise HDL cholesterol, which is good cholesterol.
Which is good.
Is what they're finding out recently.
We're speaking with Dr. Mary Team Newport calling in today. Dr. Newport, what form of eggs? Do you like them soft-boiled, poached? What's the best way to use eggs?
Oh, geez. We use them all different ways. Steve loves hard-boiled eggs. That's probably his favorite way to get them. We also put them in smoothies, so I just cook them very slightly and then, for maybe 20 seconds and then put them into a smoothie. And I like them scrambled, and I like them in omelets a lot.
Okay, those seem like good ways. And really, so I could eat a couple of eggs a day, or in your cubby's case, 5 eggs a day, some days, and you think that's a smart idea?
I do. I think it's not bad. It's not what it was cracked up to be, for a long time when they were telling us not to eat eggs. I think quite the opposite. But that's compared to some of the other things we could be eating, that eggs are probably high up on the list of things that we should be eating. When you think about it, everything is in an egg: vitamins, minerals, proteins, fat. Everything is there to make a whole baby chicken.
Right.
And all we can benefit from all of those vitamins and other nutrients that are in there ourselves, and get them in a natural way instead of like a synthetic pill or something to get vitamins from.
Now you, again, on a personal level, because of your husband's illness, problems with memory, you started working with the ideas of nutrition. There's a lot of discussion now of the term inflammatory response, how certain foods or chemicals we're exposed to cause an inflammatory response, which is bad for the body. Can you explain to my listening audience about that inflammatory response?
Yeah, one of the biggest culprits with causing inflammation, for example, are omega-6 fatty acids. And they're also essential fatty acids, but we're getting way too much of them. And, for example, omega-6 and omega-3 tend to balance each other. Omega-6 is pro-inflammatory. It actually, the oil that is in omega-6 is a precursor for certain substances that are inflammatory in the body, and omega-3 is a precursor for anti-inflammatory substances in the body. Mm-hmm. And they balance each other, and we should be getting roughly equal amounts of those. But what's going on is in soybean oil, for example, is very high in omega-6 and very tiny bit of omega-3, so it's way out of balance. And a lot of the foods that we eat, from like fast food restaurants, packaged foods, even like peanut butter has soybean oil in it. Most people aren't aware of that.
I did not know that.
And we're getting an excess of this omega-6 that's pro-inflammatory. So that's just one example.
Well, that's a very important example. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also some talk that wheat and gluten from wheat, may be inflammatory for a lot of people, and it may cause some problems with the bowel, leaky bowel syndrome, where certain substances may be getting into our circulation and other parts of our body, because of damage to the bowel by gluten, wheat gluten. So that's out there now too.
Dr. Newport, how do you weigh in on the whole discussion of the use of processed sugar and the problems associated with the use of processed sugar? And specifically, is processed sugar, in your opinion, a very much of a problem with problems which we call senility or dementia or Alzheimer's?
I think that is probably one of the biggest problems with Alzheimer's. Processed sugar is it's been greatly increased, the amount of processed sugar that people are eating now compared to a century ago. I found a graph recently, and it looked at as far back as 1822 when they kept records of what the per capita intake is of sugar. And back then it was about 6 pounds a year of sugar, and it was more wealthy people that could afford sugar that had it. The not so wealthy people didn't even have access to it very much. But now it's up to something like 120 pounds a year per person. That's a lot of processed sugar, and that's basically mostly added sugar, things that are added to foods that don't occur naturally in the foods. And, at the same time, the incidence of diabetes has gone up very drastically over the last 50 to 60 years. And that now even includes in children, that very young children, 8, 10, 12 years old, are coming down with type 2 diabetes, which used to be called adult onset diabetes, and now it's not really adult onset anymore. There are a lot of children that are experiencing this problem, and it's very damaging to the body to have type 2 diabetes or type 1, but with type 2, there's insulin resistance in different organs, throughout the body, and difficulty getting glucose into these cells, and ultimately it can cause problems with blindness, kidney disease, kidney failure. Diabetes is the biggest cause of kidney failure. Problems with circulation in the skin, and some people eventually, may end up with amputations from that. That's a very serious thing to have type 2 diabetes, but when you're talking about a 10 or 12-year-old, what is their life expectancy going to be, and what is their life going to be like, as all of these things are happening to them over time. And if it's not the food, what is it? It has to be the food that's causing that. And Alzheimer's, this is one of the big themes in my book, is that in recent years, it's been learned that Alzheimer's is a type of diabetes of the brain. It's very, very similar to type 2 diabetes, and they have actually coined the term type 3 diabetes to describe Alzheimer's disease, because insulin resistance develops in the brain. A group at Brown University, Dr. Suzanne Delmonte and her group, first coined the term type 3 diabetes in 2005. And what they had done was they looked at the brains of people who died with Alzheimer's disease that did not have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and they found insulin resistance in all of these brains. And when they looked at people at all stages of the disease, they found that it was located in certain parts of the brain and relatively mild in the earliest stages of Alzheimer's, but that it progressed and became more severe until it was widespread throughout the brain in the last stages of Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So insulin resistance is a big problem for people with Alzheimer's. So, I tell people to think of the person with Alzheimer's as diabetic. Think of them as if they are diabetic. One of the best ways to treat type 2 diabetes is to go on a low-carbohydrate diet, because you're not raising your insulin levels so high and so constantly. And, with type 2 diabetes, if you can control the carbohydrate in the diet, you can actually, like if you're taking insulin for it, many people go off insulin if they can reduce their carbohydrate intake low enough, and that's usually to somewhere under 60 grams a day, that you can control type 2 diabetes if you can maintain under 60 grams a day of carbohydrate. And compared to what most people eat, which is probably closer to 250 or 300 grams a day, that's a big cutting out of carbohydrate, but it's not terrible. When you look at what you actually can eat, you do have to adjust your diet, but you don't have to eliminate every single thing, that has carbohydrate in it from your diet.
And Dr. Newport,
you can just be careful about it.
If people wish to, maintain their vitality, their mental acuity, and they wish to limit, modify the use of carbohydrate, can people successfully still eat fresh fruit? What can we eat that you think this is a good choice? So what can we eat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fresh fruit?
Yeah, you can eat fresh fruit. It's just limiting, how much. If you can, there's actually a fair amount of fiber in a lot of fruits, like peaches and apricots and things like that have a fair amount of fiber. And fiber isn't digested, and it doesn't impact insulin at all. So you could just be very careful about your fruit choices. Some are sweeter than others, like berries are relatively low in carbohydrate and high in fiber, that type of thing. I'm actually have written the second book, and it's in the editing process. Will probably come out early next year, but it's going to also include a section on carbohydrates, how to control the carbohydrates and how to design your own diet, starting with protein. How many grams of protein do you need a day, and what foods can you get these from? And a little chart with you can design your own diet, literally, and then the whole gamut of carbohydrate. It will look at different options for breakfast. One very high carbohydrate, one moderate, one very low, and that are all about the same number of calories. Mm-hmm. And but this will overall help, reduce your carbohydrate intake, and I think most people will be more satisfied longer, eating this way, that they won't have that intense, carbohydrate craving that a lot of us, like I used to have, and a lot of people experience all of the time.
For those of you just tuning in today to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network, we're speaking by phone with Dr. Mary T. Newport, author of the important book, Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? And Dr. Newport has been on the show before. Dr. Newport, if a person is to eat protein, which we all need, in your opinion, what is the average amount of protein that the average person, man or woman, needs? And what's the best way to get that protein?
Well, basically, you figure about 0.5 gram of protein a day per pound that you weigh. Mm-hmm. So, say somebody weighs 80 pounds, that would be, let's say something more reasonable, 160 pounds.
Okay, that's right. That's more reasonable.
That would be about 80 grams of protein a day.
Okay.
So, 3 ounces of chicken, for example, or fish, is somewhere around 21 to 23 grams of protein. Mm-hmm. And an egg is about 6 to 7 grams of protein. So you can, look at how many grams of protein are in a specific food that you like, and figure out how much of it you need to eat to kind of get to that point. So that's kind of a starting point.
Now, Dr. Newport, when we spoke, actually, this was a couple of years ago, when you modified your regime, started eating more carefully, for the benefit of your husband and the benefit of yourself, how much weight did you drop? Can I ask that question?
Yeah, I actually dropped over 90 pounds.
Oh, my goodness. I did not know.
And
okay.
it was 50 pounds the first year, and then over the next 2 years, I lost the rest of it. I have gained back to somewhere in between there. It's very, very hard to keep it off. And I think the main thing is I should be getting more exercise, and that would keep it off. But I have, on the other hand, for 8 years, I've kept off more than 40 pounds.
And keeping this weight off, so would you describe yourself now as slim? You're slim now, is that it?
No, not quite. I wish. I'm a little chunky, I would say.
But when you drop the weight, that was not necessarily the goal. That was just kind of one of the benefits, correct?
It was one of the benefits. Of course, when you weigh as much as I did at that point, you want to lose weight. You hope to lose weight, but the original goal was really to try to get healthier and to get away from the packaged foods and eat a better diet. And it was, much easier to lose weight that way, than other previous diets that I'd gone on that were higher carb.
And this regime that you followed, that you talk about in your book, Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? It turns out to be very simple after you know it, isn't it? I mean, it's really easy to implement.
Yes, it is. It's easier than people think. Mm-hmm. You do have to cook some.
Right.
That was my thing. It was very convenient to just take a frozen meal and throw it in the microwave or go to a fast food restaurant.
Sure.
So it does take more time, but it's really not that much more time. Like say you're going to go to a fast food restaurant, you have to go there.
Right.
You have to stand in line, and then you eat, and you still have to drive home. And there are an awful lot of things that you can make that take 20 or 30 minutes.
Right.
And then you sit down and eat, and It's really not as inconvenient as I kind of thought it would be. And the sad thing is my husband, Steve, he was really a terrific cook. He was really a good cook. He made some very creative things, and very early in our marriage, he got interested in that, and then we got away from it. For many years, we just, our children didn't especially like the stuff that he made in a wok, when they were little,
Sure.
and it just kind of discouraged him a little bit from that. But I would say really my job had more to do with it, that I perceived, that I did not have the time to cook.
Right.
And so, I really blame a lot of it on myself, and we just, both of us found it, easy, we thought, to stop and go eat at McDonald's or Wendy's or Taco Bell or someplace like that. And, that's a really big regret of mine, was that I, number one, didn't learn more about nutrition a lot sooner and didn't really understand the impact of nutrition on your life, really, on developing a disease such as Alzheimer's.
Well, Dr. Newport,
and diabetes we have to worry about.
Your book, Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure, seems to have had a very nice impact to date. And what is going to be the title of your new book?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's going to be called The Coconut Oil and Low Carbohydrate Diet for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Other Diseases, or other disorders.
Okay.
That's the working title right now. It might be called something different when it actually is published.
Well, Dr. Newport, how can we contact you?
I have a website. It's Coconut Ketones, KETONES.com. And I have an email address on there. It's ketones08@AOL.com. And ketones is spelled KETONES. There's no Y in it. A lot of people try to put a Y in and they can't get a hold of me. We didn't really talk about the ketones much. Do we have time left or no?
Actually, we only have just a few minutes left, so we don't have quite enough time. But I'd like to very much thank you for being on the show. Once again, an excellent presentation on wellness, and I hope to have you again on when your new book comes out.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much for inviting me to come on.
Thank you, Dr. Newport.
You're welcome.
We've been speaking with Dr. Mary T. Newport, MD, author of Alzheimer's Disease, What If There Was a Cure? This is Josh Lane with Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Hi, this is Susie Pruden. And yes, you've seen me on Oprah, Good Morning America, and The Today Show. And I'm inviting you to join me every Monday from 3 to 4 for my new show, Mastermind Live. Join us as we introduce you to the new thought leaders of the world who will inspire you, support you, and guide you to your next level. So don't forget to tune into Mastermind Live exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to the Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. There are many new nutritional products available now that offer us protein and B vitamins that have no processed sugar, that are clean. And we have one of those new products today. Edward Cannon is here with a company called, if I pronounce it correctly, Botan, which is a 12 grams of soluble plant-based protein and B vitamins necessary for vibrant energy. Edward, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you very much.
And what was the origin of these plant-based protein products?
I got injured a couple of years ago. I had a very bad knee injury. And so I had a very big surgery, and I lost a lot of weight, and I was asked to eat a lot of protein to get my muscle back. And at the time, I wasn't eating really healthy. I was eating a lot of meat, a lot of charcuteries, which is a French delicacy. And I kept getting sick, so I went to a doctor. I had a blood test. The blood test came back, and he said that my uric acid was extremely high.
Uric acid. Uh-huh.
Exactly. And I was close to get gout, so I was asked to change my diet and to go to a more of a vegan, vegetarian diet. And then that's when I realized there was no beverage out there that will offer a high content of vegan protein with a low calorie.
What's vegan mean?
Vegan means it's food that is not coming from animals. So eggs, dairies, all those are obviously not vegan, and meat, fish, obviously as well. So I was asked to change my diet, and that's what I did, and it's been really beneficial. And after that, my uric acid went down, and I'm back on being super healthy, and I built my muscle back as well.
You were a pretty good athlete at one time?
Yeah, still, I like to think. No, I do a lot of sports. I surf a lot every morning. When the waves are there, I'm going to be surfing. But I'm mostly very active, and the fact that Botan is so amazing is it gives me nutrient. It nourishes me very quickly, and that's very different from other drinks out there. And if you have a busy lifestyle, to have something so convenient than a bottle like that can nourish you and give you about 25% of your daily value of protein, it's pretty good.
Was that when you had an injury and then decided, oh my goodness, my uric acid's high, and you hit upon the idea of the vegetarian vegan lifestyle? Was that a brand new concept for you, or had you been thinking about that for years and years anyway?
No, it was completely new to me. I found it always strange I love animals, and so I always had a bit of guilt, I guess, sometimes to eat some certain animal food. But it was a brand new concept. I had to learn, had the lingos, and I thought I couldn't get any protein from eating vegan and vegetarian, which is what a lot of people assume. And so I had to learn about peas, I had to learn about quinoa, I had to learn about lentils and beans. And I find out peas was one of great source of protein. That's why we use green peas in, Botan. But it was completely new to me.
Yes, green pea protein
seems to be reasonably popular now in the marketplace.
Yeah, it keeps growing. There are a lot of different reason why peas are so successful. But
why?
Well, I'm going to give you two main reasons. But one is it has a great balance of essential amino acids, which are great when it comes to regenerating your cells. So if you have a busy lifestyle, if you're constantly active, it's really a great source of protein. But the second one, which is I think the reason why it's becoming so popular, is peas makes you feel fuller for a longer time. So when you drink a bowl of Botan, for example, for 4 hours you won't be hungry. You're going to feel full. The only difference that we have compared to other peas out there is ours is 100% soluble, as you can see in that bottle. And so that makes it really easy to digest. So you'll digest it in 20 minutes. So if you digest something very quickly, it means your body is not spending any energy digesting it. So in many ways, you're saving energy.
And are you the chemist? Do you put this together?
I worked with some scientifics. I had the idea, but then it was pretty hard to execute. We worked for 3 years to get to where we are now. We're still the only one that we know of that have been able to make pea protein soluble. So it was a lot of work, but with passion and commitment and a great team, we were able to make it happen.
And do you manufacture this here in California?
Yes, everything is made in California, in the U.S. We're very proud of it, even though I'm French. That might sound ironic, but
no, it's okay.
It's okay. We're very happy about that, very proud, and yeah, it's we're based in Santa Monica, and we launched 3 months ago.
Oh, good.
We went from 30 stores to 300 stores in only 3 months, so it's a big success.
Yes, it is.
And we have a lot of different consumers we didn't necessarily expect. That goes from models to people who have digestion issue. They have difficulty to digest certain foods, whether because they have disease. Some people have cancer and have some issues to also get some protein, good source of protein. So they're writing to us and saying, well, guys, you're changing my life. This is amazing. I can finally have a good source of healthy protein without the calories, because we only have 110 calories, which is really low.
And also, as far as I understand it, the cancer patient is probably better advised to move towards a vegetarian or vegan approach, based on what I know.
Based from what I know as well, I think it's very safe to eat vegan and vegetarian. We are also non-GMO. We use mostly organic ingredients. So I'm not going to say anything too bad regarding the meat
Right.
and the non-vegan diet, but a vegan and vegetarian diet seems a lot safer, let's put it this way, when it comes to protecting your health and improving your health as well.
Sure. And you have 6 flavors, is that it? I have 6 choices?
No, we have 3 flavors.
3 flavors.
This time too. So strawberry cucumber. The other one is pineapple and coconut.
Strawberry cucumber.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Pineapple and coconut. And the second one it's called cherry tomatoes. So it's reference to those very small tomatoes. But we're going to change the name. We're going to call it mini tomatoes because people think there is cherries and tomato combined.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Which is not the case. Somehow some people still think it's really a very interesting combination. So it's still doing pretty well because it tastes amazing. But so those are the 3 flavors. Because we have so much demand, we anticipate to launch 3 new flavors very early next year. We're already working on those flavors. It's very exciting.
So you have a manufacturing facility here in Santa Monica.
We don't own it. It's not in Santa Monica. It's in California though. We came up with a recipe and we just send that recipe to what we call a co-packer that is non-GMO and organic certified, and he's the one making things happen.
So you really feel that you are the first to have a soluble pea protein that mixes well in a drink form.
We are still the only one. A lot of people from venture capitalists to big companies that I won't name, but big companies are coming to us and say, guys, how did you do it? Because the potential is huge. When you can literally feed people that quickly, right. There's a lot of ideas that can come out, whether it's in hospital, whether it's military. There are a lot of possibilities that can serve Botan very well. So,
right. And Botan, is that a French term?
It comes from botanical.
Botanical. Okay, I just
the short for botanical.
Maybe a name. Okay, Botanical. I can get that, and I get 12 grams of protein in every bottle.
Exactly. That's about 25% of your daily value. Depending if you're a man or a female. For a female, it would probably be more like 30 to 35. We need about 60 grams of protein per day. A lot of people don't know that, but 25% of your body is made of protein. So if you're doing a cleanse or if you're trying to lose weight, having protein is always necessary. Depriving yourself from protein is really not a smart move, because you need to nourish your body, and protein is 25% of it. So if you choose wisely, and if you choose a source of protein that is really healthy and easy to digest, you're going to do a lot of good to your body.
And Edward, we're speaking with Edward Cannon. Edward, you are the founder of Botan, is that it?
I'm a co-founder.
Co-founder.
I started Botan with a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, and he became my business partner. And so we had a good role. And then another good friend of mine was really intrigued by Botan and came in at a pretty early stage as well. And he wanted also to invest and to be part of the adventure. So he became also a co-founder. And thanks to those guys and to the rest of the team, Botan has been very successful. And so I'm a co-founder and CEO, but literally there are 3 co-founders.
And how do I use the Botan? Do I drink it for breakfast? Do I drink it after I work out? After I come back from the gym? I mean, what's the good time?
It's a great question. A lot of people consume Botan in so many different ways that it's kind of hard to define when is the best time. For me, for example, I like to surf. I like to be active. I like to do some sports. But I can't do it if I had food in my stomach, like most people, because you're digesting. So I drink it before and during, and also after, so I can replenish faster. But for a lot of people, it's, I don't have time for lunch, so let's grab a Botan. Or I just want a very light lunch, so I'll have just a small salad, but I know I need my protein, so I'm going to get a bar of Botan. And for some people, they feel like, at 6 p.m., I don't want to cook, I want to go to bed early, but I know I'll sleep better if I eat light, so they're just having a Botan as a dinner, as a light dinner. You can also mix it, with your shakes and different things like that. So there are many different ways. You need protein all the time, so you can always find a way to drink it.
Okay, you seem to have everything covered there for sure. Yeah, that's very, very good. And what are new flavors going to be?
We keep them secret. The one is called, we're probably going to be a bit tropical. So we're using some tropical fruits. Very interesting, very different, and quite unique. And we realized, pineapple and coconut is doing so well that we want to say probably into these exotic fruits, because that's really what people like the most, and it really gives you a refreshing side of it. So this is one of the flavors, and there are 2 more coming. We keep them secret for now.
And you said you're in 300 stores, so that's a lot of stores in the LA area. Give us your website so we can contact you.
Drinkbotan.com. That's where you can find us. You can buy us online as well. And you'll find us in all the healthy food stores in LA County for sure.
Well, Edward Cannon of Botan Beverage, thanks for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health.
I'm really honored. Thank you very much for having us, and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hey everybody, it's your man Sabir Bey back on your airwaves, inviting you to join us every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Sabir Bey Show, discussing history, law, and hip-hop. Every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Sabir Bey Show, exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You also can catch us on iTunes Radio and R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch us and listen directly at LATalkLive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to the Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Indian Tyler inviting you to join me beginning April 9th every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity. Join me as we go beyond the vanity and discuss the real-life issues of beauty. And it gets really real. So on April 9th, don't forget to tune in to Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity, Wednesdays at 2 p.m., exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Live 365, Radio Flag, and AHA Radio, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. Well, there are new food companies, new natural foods companies available in the LA area and nationwide, and one is called Bongo Foods. Bongo Foods, and you bring something in from the baobab tree or tuber, or what is it, baobab?
So baobab is a superfruit from southern Africa, and we harvest that and we make a fruit chew line and a powder line. And the powder itself, it looks like this. For those who can't see, who are listening on the radio, it
Right.
kind of looks like a yam.
Looks like a yam.
Looks like a root vegetable, but actually it's a pod. And it comes
Oh,
off
really?
the tree dehydrated already, and it's 100% organic raw powder form. And we use that powder and we put it in our powder line and in our fruit chew.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I introduced Cyan Pei.
Yes.
You are representative of this Bongo Food Company.
Bongo Foods,
Bongo
we're
Foods.
located in Malibu, California. We're a startup health food company promoting healthy lifestyles and healthy eating. And baobab is the star of today's show and our product lines. And so bonga itself, the word bonga is from Zulu. It's a dialect in Africa, and it's the harvesters of our baobab use that. And that's where we got our beautiful name from.
And Bonga means what again?
Gratitude in Zulu.
Bonga means gratitude.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That's very nice.
Yes,
And
learned something new.
now, the world's become very international. So people travel everywhere, and they realize, oh, here's a great food in, say, Guatemala. No one's eating it, and maybe we should bring it to the United States, and there could be a market for it. Is that what you did with this baobab, which, again, it's not a tuber. What is it again?
It is a fruit. It's
A
a
fruit.
fruit pod that comes off the tree. We've been demoing a lot in Whole Foods lately, and a lot of the great feedback is a lot of people have studied the botany of the baobab plant before. They either know it from studying the botany or they know it from traveling to Africa with a study abroad or whatever. And a lot of kids have tried baobab before on their travels, and a lot of people also know it from The Little Prince, the story that we all read when we were little. So it's
really?
in the minds of a lot of people, but it's very new to the American marketplace. The baobab tree itself is called the Tree of Life. It's been around for thousands of years. Some trees have been carbon dated to 6,000 years ago. So in the African marketplace and the local marketplace, it's very common. But we're one of the few companies bringing it to the United States as a new product.
And so if I eat it, what's it do for me besides tasting good?
Besides tasting good, well, it has, in its raw natural form, a citrusy, tangy flavor to it. And it's really high in antioxidants. It has about 10 times the antioxidant power of the leading superfruits out there, such as pomegranate, acai, and goji berries.
Really?
It's 10 times more than that. It's really high in fiber, soluble fiber, so you feel full after you eat it. And it's really good for vitamin C. So if you take our powder, for example, 1 scoop of our powder, 12 grams, you get 24% of your daily value of fiber, vitamin C. and it has 10,000 ORAC value for antioxidants.
What's ORAC mean?
So ORAC is an oxygen radical absorbance capacity rating. Essentially, it's a rating to tell how you are on the scale of your antioxidant power. So we are one of the leaders for Baobab is a very high ORAC value. And if we don't need a little recap on what antioxidants and the oxygen radical absorbency means, is essentially the pollution in the air, secondhand smoke can damage the cells in your body, and they become free radicals. And what those free radicals do is they try to find other healthy cells in your body to try to obtain what they're missing. But by doing that, it causes a chain reaction, and it causes your body to not so much malfunction completely right away, but it can lead to heart disease, it can lead to cancer, it can lead to arthritis. This chain effect of having damaged cells trying to find what they need from the new ones. And that's why our bodies definitely need antioxidants, and that's why this fruit is really great in terms of how high value it has for antioxidants.
And so does it have much vitamin C?
It has a lot of vitamin C. Like I said, it has 24% of your daily value vitamin C for each scoop. In our chew line, each pouch has 40 grams. It has 6 to 8 grams of fiber, and it has 24% of your daily vitamin C value.
Cyan, excuse me. So
Yes.
in front of us, for those of us who are listening to us today, on watching us today, YouTube, Ustream, on LA Talk Live, although a lot of our audience hears us on iTunes under the R&B genre, this almost looks like it's candy to me, actually.
It is a healthy alternative to candy.
Oh, I see.
I don't like to label it as candy too much because candy oftentimes has a negative connotation that it's unhealthy for you.
That's right.
But this is way better than candy because it tastes better than most candies out there, and it's healthy for you. So you don't get a sugar rush. There's no added sugar. It's gluten-free. It's vegan. No gelatin.
Excuse me. I'm looking at this candy here in the studio.
Yes.
This Baobab.
Mhm.
Is this what it looks like? This is just Baobab in little tiny pieces?
So that is Baobab. It's our 100% raw organic Baobab mixed with a fruit puree in each of our 4 flavors. So we
Oh, I
have
see.
mango, strawberry, pomegranate, and raspberry. And then it has vegetable oil to coat it. So it's really basic ingredients. It's not going to be a lot of chemicals. You don't know what the heck you're eating in your food. Everything's on the back, and the main product is the Baobab.
So, Ms. Pei, you have been to Africa, and you just thought, this is great, we should bring this to the United States. Is that how the origin of this?
I myself have not been to Southern Africa before, but in a couple weeks, our co-founders are going to be traveling to South Africa, the Limpopo region, Johannesburg, to meet our harvesters.
So this comes from South Africa.
It comes from the southern region, so it comes from Limpopo in South Africa,
I'm
Malawi,
sorry,
and Zimbabwe.
I don't know. Tell me there once again.
So we have Zimbabwe,
Zimbabwe.
Malawi, and Limpopo, which is a region in South Africa.
I see. Okay.
So it's the southern eastern belt of Africa.
And this is an indigenous tree
Yes.
that has been in use for a long time.
Thousands of years, they call it the tree of life. It's a beautiful, magnificent tree. Has beautiful roots that grow down and almost mirrors the top of the tree. And yeah, it's been used forever.
It's used historically as, is it a side dish? Do I boil it? I mean, how do people really use it?
So the powder can be used in many forms. A lot of people use it for makeup and oils to help your skin. You can also use it for baking. It's a substitute for cream of tartar in baking, but you can also use it as an additive for that tangy, citrusy flavor. And the chews, you can also bake with the chews, and they don't melt. So that's another fun fact for you.
And where can I get this Bonga Baobab superfood?
So we are happy to say that we are in 28 select Whole Food stores in the Southern
Oh, you're
California
in Whole
region.
Foods. That's
We
always
made
good.
it.
Yeah.
We made it
It's
to
hard
Whole
to make
Foods.
it. Well, actually, let me say this. Let me say something nice about Whole Foods. They are very careful what they bring in those shops. So and they've really helped to change the way America
Right.
eats. They have done some fantastic work. So if you made it to Whole Foods, obviously you must have a quality product.
Thank you very much. We do. We're also in Earth Fair stores and on the East Coast. And you can check us out at bongafoods.com. And we're also selling our product on jpselects.com.
On what?
On jpselects.com. It's a forum. They promote products that are sustainably made, good for the environment, have a social conscious aspect to it, which we do also. We have a Bonga Foundation, which we launched this year on International Women's Day this past March. And we donate 10% of all of our proceeds back to the women who harvest the baobab for us. And we also encourage sustainable farming practices, making sure the baobab trees aren't going to be damaged. And we help support the women in the economy on a micro and macro level. And so we're going
Well,
to
that
be.
seems like very good work.
Oh, I thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the powder? It's used, and it's, the powder says raw. And do I mix that with carrot juice? I mean, how do I use it?
So, like I said, it has a tangy, citrusy flavor to it. We usually put it in water. It's really great for on the go for athletes. We have a lot of people who are doing triathlons, and we have small 8-gram stick packs that they can grab and go and put them in their water as they're doing their triathlons and bike races, whatever. The powder is also really good in smoothies. You can put it on top of your yogurt, on your granola. It's really, really tasty.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
And kids like it too, you think?
Kids love it too. If you want to come by to the Whole Foods we're in, we're going to be demoing a lot this month. A lot of kids love them, and they're so healthy, so the moms love to buy a healthy product for their kids. They
So
don't
like
wanna...
the Glendale, Pasadena, you're gonna hit those big stores and kind of do demos.
Yes.
Yeah. People love to try new product, and then they're happy to buy it after they've tried it and see if they like the taste. Sure.
Yeah, it's great.
And what's it going to be retailing for? For example, the powder here is, I think, 12 ounces. What's this retail?
So the 12-ounce canister, the suggested retail price is $46.99.
Alrighty.
And for each of our 40-gram packs of our chews, it's $3.99 suggested retail.
Of those little packages?
Yes.
All right, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Pei, thank you very much for being guest today on Here's to Your Health. It's been fun.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. It's been fun. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network, where we like to bring you the newest ideas on nutrition and wellness. And I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke.
Real talk straight from the heart brain. It's Madam Mibrations here, founder of Mibrations, sharing the Love Your Skin body butter. Mibrations creates with the highest vibrational energy on this planet Earth, which is love. So please support yourself, the world, and lupus community by purchasing any Mibrations healthy and living products. I also make vegan therapeutic living candles. You can find my products in the Bee Lounge located at 4873 Topanga Canyon Boulevard, Woodland Hills, California 91364, and at the Ink Rich Tattoo and Piercing located at 7211 Van Nuys Boulevard, Van Nuys, California 91405. Thank you for the highest good of all. I love you and I love me.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. And now your host, personal trainer, Andy Harlan.
Hi, I'm Andy Harlan, your host for this segment of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, the future of radio. And I'm happy to have Susan Howard here with me today, the owner of Studio K Training. Glad to have you, Susan.
Thank you so much, Andy.
So let's open up with you explaining a little bit about your facility and what you do and your philosophies on personal training.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, Studio K Training is really all about lifestyle performance training. What we do is really want to make the body the strongest that it can be, activate that mind-body awareness to get that connection. So we use a wonderful concept called Kinesis. It's made by Technogym. It's a Kinesis product, the K Station, the K Wall, and K does stand for Kinesis. Kinesis means movement in Greek. So we do all of our training based on functional movement patterns, as well as high-intensity interval training to really maximize the calorie burn.
That's great. I've seen the Kinesis wall. It's kind of a cool technology. And, back in the day, coming into this business, it was mostly weight training, bodybuilding, and it's changed a lot. So what are your theories about weight training, and do you incorporate that in your facility and, with the Kinesis wall and whatever else you do down there?
Absolutely. Well, with the Kinesis, it's actually a 3-tier cable system. So all of the cables do have weights, resistance that are able to be loaded onto those cables. So it essentially is a weight bearing type of programming. And the cables are allowed to, give a little bit more of that activation for both the accelerator and the decelerator muscles. So it is a similar to weight training in the sense that, we are using the resistance, but it's different in the sense that it has a lot more safety and support and structure because you have these cables that kind of help you with the alignment. And that really is a big benefit in keeping people safe when they're doing the movement patterns.
Well, how'd you get into this thing? Give me some of your background. What made you get interested in becoming a trainer and doing what we do today?
Well, it's been a long journey. I'm a Midwest girl from back in Wisconsin, and it always has been a big thing to be active. So I started at a very young age actually doing all of the old aerobics and weight training with women in one of those very exclusive women's only centers back in the 80s. And it inspired me to, really continue with my passion with fitness. And I've been in the big box industries doing all different types of management as well as training. But really the biggest thing for me for inspiring to do this is really to help people to live a longer, better life, not be spending all their time into a training center or into a gym, but really being able to get their body strong to really enjoy the activities that they love to do.
That's great. So I think, I'm also a personal trainer, and it's funny because yesterday I spoke to one of my friends. I just missed my 30th reunion back in New Jersey, to date myself a little bit, and he was talking about lifting, weights down in my basement with the Joe Weider 110-pound weight set back in the day in junior high and whatnot. So I was just talking to him about how much the industry has changed, with all the new crazes out there and whatnot, which, I'm always talking about because it's so much of a part of today's fitness world. Well, where did you get your start when you first came out here? And, let's talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I actually have been in, training here for, several years. I've been in California for 22 years, but, been really in all the different types of programming. And it's been all functional training, all sports performance training, but I've been into all of the, new crazes to say. And through all that, as I got older and, dating myself, I recognized I needed something that was a little bit safer, something that was able to give me more of that functionality without that impact in my body. So this is how I kind of came to create this system with the Kinesis product because it really does allow you to get that same type of intensity without the impact on the body.
Yeah, and that's a big thing with me, the impact on the body. I, maybe get a little controversial here because it'll be some good radio. I don't agree with a lot of the different cross-training and, programs out there that destroy your body. Some of these things that you do for 30 or maybe 90 days, can you do it for 365 days? Can you do it for 10 years? What do you think about that, if you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's something for everybody. And I really feel like what we offer gives that to the audience. And I'm all about safety, structure, support. And I feel that, that's really key to living a long life. And those things that are out there, as much as they do motivate, which is a great thing, you really need to be cautious and aware that, just because it's exciting and fun and competitive, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best thing for you. So that's really, my nice way of saying, really keep cautious and remember that safety needs to be first whenever you're looking at a program to get healthy.
And I agree. And as we get older, our bodies need more recovery time, obviously. And when you were a kid, you could lift every day. You used to bench press 5 days a week. And and I'm not against anything that's going to get someone in shape. And if you have a body that can take that kind of pounding, then go for it until you can't take it anymore. But I do see a lot of injuries out there caused from some of these programs.
Yeah, and it's growing. Actually, a lot of the people that come into Studio K are looking for that safety because they have done other programs and worked with professionals that they didn't quite connect with. And what we're really teaching and educating our clients on is relearning how to really activate those muscles properly. It's kind of the analogy of when you first, are a baby and you're first lifting your head and then rolling and then crawling and then walking. As adults, we need to really relearn those systems because we get kind of complacent in how we move and we only use those large muscle groups. And we need to really activate all those small muscle groups and really help to stabilize those joints by doing these movements properly. So these functional movement patterns really help to keep you in that, peak performance.
I agree. I was saying that, at my age, at almost 48, I've focused on a lot more of the smaller muscle groups that give support and stability to my joints. And what I find with a lot of people that get to be, my age and older is that you're still pretty strong, but your joints, your tendons can't take the weight. It's almost like the first thing you feel is the elbow or the knee, not necessarily the muscle. So it's important in, my philosophy is to warm up, start very light, go through the movement, introduce that movement to your body, and then move up. You see guys coming in, putting 225 on the bench for the first set. I would start with just the bar and work my way up to whatever weight I want to go to. But that's my philosophy. And I think that, back when I was growing up, we lifted so hard that, I've learned a lot from the mistakes I made back then. And, I try to instill these philosophies into my clients when I'm training them. And definitely always take age into consideration and, physical strength and well-being and also injuries, of course. And then again, that recovery time. I myself, I work out with weights 3 days a week. And right. I do cardio probably 5 or 6 days a week. So, and also the nutritional factor is very important. I discussed that too. Do you provide nutritional guidance and whatnot to your clients too?
Yes, we have registered dietitian on staff that really will help with each one of our clients to meet their needs. And just to kind of address what you're saying as far as like the cardio and, cardio versus weights, with our K training system, we actually incorporate both in the same programming. So it really allows you to get that high intensity movement without that additional impact, but you also get that low intensity to be able to get that recovery. So with the high intensity movement program, you're getting a calorie burn that increases more, but you're not having to jump on a treadmill. You're not having to, be on an elliptical. Mm-hmm. The other great thing about K training, which kind of differentiates it, is, as you mentioned, as you get older, there's different things that you need to do. You need to be more stabilizing. You don't necessarily need to be doing so many lunges. You don't necessarily need to be doing so many squats. But if we keep that core stabilization and have those movement patterns in a holding position, we can get the same benefit without having a lot of that wear and tear on the joint. So with the K training, there's modifications and progressions to really work with each individual client within the session.
Yeah, that's great, and I agree with that. The core is very important. I think once you have activated your core, you were saying, about when you're a child, you move a certain way, and you need to relearn these movements. Most people, they bend down, they don't bend their knees, they just bend down at their back, they don't squat down. And it's funny because, not to be sad, but you come into the earth as a little baby crunched up, and then you grow into a human being, an adult, and then you crunch back down and then go away. So we want to try to remain upright and have good posture and whatnot, have a good strong base. And I'm always making references to athletes, to batters in the batter box, to pitchers. Like the warming up is very important. A batter doesn't walk into the batter's box and just swing. He gets his stand straight and gets his score straight. And when your core is activated, you're able to focus, on those muscles you're working. It's not about your knees being locked out or your hips being, stressed because your feet are too wide. And that's very important. So that actually, I think there's definitely a way to incorporate that even in the way you stand or even lift weights when you're doing like dumbbell curls or any kind of weight training, as well as the kind of training you do. And I went to your website. It's pretty cool. You have some really cool philosophies. But you are associated with another company too?
Our Studio K training is really our emphasis. But my business partner also has a company called AFP, which is Advantage Fitness Products, who are the largest supplier of Technogym in the United States, as well as many other different types of products that are supplied to all different wellness design facilities for commercial and residential.
So you also design gyms yourself, or you just work over at Studio K? And
I am solely Studio K focused. K training really is my baby. It really is a life-changing type of exercise program. As you mentioned, I like that analogy as we're curled up as a baby and then we stand tall and then we curl up back in. And we're really seeing people really getting a new life and growing tall and growing strong. That core stability is so important. If there's any takeaway from this, it's really to engage the core, to keep the chest lifted, to engage those lats, have a nice long neck, really take those deep breaths in and deep breaths out, and really make sure that you have that nice heel placement when you walk. I mean, every time that we do every movement, we're keeping those reminders, and people are taking that information and they're taking it out into the real world to, have it apply to every movement they do, whether it be biking, hiking, running, climbing up the stairs, or, taking their daughter for a walk. It doesn't matter. It all makes a difference and makes a change when they do K training.
That sounds great. I agree with that totally. So what is your clientele basically? Is it male, female, both, all ages?
We have very big range of clients. They range all the way from teenagers for sports performance, or those that are just wanting to develop more self-esteem and really find that confidence and their posture and the way that they can carry themselves. We have professional athletes that work to really enhance their performance to that elite level. And then we have moms and dads that really are looking to, really be the best, that they can be for their kids and also for their grandchildren to come. So it really does have a appeal to all different types of people. And we, like I said, can modify and progress things so that they really are to your needs. So that's really, really the key to what we offer.
That's great. And it's great how fitness could be provided for, a young person, a kid, and up to an elderly person who is just trying to keep it going. But what I've learned, as I said before, when you're younger, you really need to lay off some of these exercises as well as when you're older, because when you're young, your joints are still soft, your bones are soft, and you're still growing. And if you pound them, you're going to damage them. And when you get older, they're already damaged or weakened. So you got to be careful. But, it's funny, lifting the way I did when I was a kid and working out hard and just tearing my body up, I have people come in at 50 and they never worked out before in their life, and they're like in bad shape. They might be overweight or whatnot or not look that great, but their joints are pristine. And they can actually, I've seen some pretty big gains on guys in their mid 50s. I got guys leg pressing 600, when they're safely, like maybe on a Cybex leg press or whatnot with a proper stance and form, but they come in, they're doing 50 pounds, and 4 months later, they're doing 600 pounds. So I'm like, man, I wish I knew what I knew now back then, before I benched 5 days a week and maxed out every time,
Yeah. And it's good that you say that, because even with the young athletes, I'm really teaching them how to land lightly, how to really take care of their bodies at a young age, really to take the time to, work on their balance and their flexibility and really their core to give them a long life. Because typically with athletes that in a young stages, they're so hyper focused on repetitive movements, doing the same thing over and over again. And this really allows you to, keep the body safe. Those joints need to be safe. And if you learn early on, you can be doing all these, very intense type of movements, but have a safer body. But you're absolutely right. The joints need to be protected, and the best way is to really key in on the best form of movements. And with K training, the impact isn't there. You can get a high intensity, get your maximum heart rate 80, 90%, and not even be moving. That's how intense, the programming can be, where you can actually be in a stabilized position, keeping the weight keeping the feet in a squat position and just moving the arms in a rotation, and you can get your heart rate up. So joint stability is definitely key to keeping this a safe program.
No, I agree. If you get a good stance and take like a Pilates ball and move laterally back and forth, and to work on your abdominals, if you go super fast for 50 reps, you're going to get your heart rate up. You don't necessarily have to, be jumping around and running around to obviously improve your heart rate or increase your heart rate actually. But the thing I like to be said about landing light. So, if someone weighs 180 pounds and they jump up on the box or the platform, usually their head's down, their arms are low or at their side. And I always say, equally distribute your weight from your hands to your head to your feet. Don't land with all 180 in your feet, like Herman Munster on the ground.
Right.
Try to squeeze everything tight, and you can equally distribute your weight, and you land softly. I always say land softly, like, float, stay in the air like for a long time, like Jordan when he's dunking,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's cool that you said that, because I'm really into that. I'm really into posture. I'm actually into over-exaggerated form on those exercises, because if you have a bad posture or a good, if you over exaggerate it, hopefully you'll meet in the middle somewhere.
Absolutely. And with the different movement patterns that we do, with the kinesis, we have accessories. So one of the things that's really important is we use a resistance belt, and that resistance belt is put around our waist, and we do these lateral movements, and just as you said, keeping that weight on the heel of the foot and keeping that nice soft leg with a little bend at that knee, and keeping a nice erect position with the body. I always say kind of a key way of lining up is imagine a long line coming through your ear, down your shoulder, through your hip, and to your heel. If you can keep that nice long line and have that squat position, you're going to have that balanced weight and have that nice balance between the right and left, as well as the forward and the back.
No, I agree with that totally. Also, weight training, which is my specialty, and I have a cardiovascular circuit that I created that involves jumping up and down, over rails, lateral movement, jump rope, everything depending on the athlete's ability. But, weight training is basically linear. It's, when you see people working out, they're doing a curl and they're like this, but it's really just bending the arm. The bicep isn't activated by lifting up, your arm in the air. That's a different muscle group you're using. So it's really not that complicated. You don't have to be a physicist to figure it out, but, that you really have to focus, in my opinion, on the muscles you're using. And once you get that focus and once they're activated, as I said before, it's hard to deactivate them. Like I can never let my stomach out. Like it's been so long, that I can't even, make the pot belly or anything like that. I'm always activated. I can't even let it out. And it's cool to be that way, to feel that way at my age. And, and I think when you get someone who doesn't know that or understand that, at first they don't feel it. I don't feel that, muscle group being stressed. So after repeatedly going over the same movement over and over and over, finally your body is going to learn to use that muscle group, and it's going to take over eventually.
Yes, and that's what we see in K training, is because we're continually having these reinforcements of core stability and proper posture. They do take it out of the studio and use it in everyday life. They don't always understand it at first, but through the constant repetition, they're seeing it, and they're seeing the results. And family members and friends, they're all saying, "What are you doing now?" Because they're getting that different look and feel to their body.
And that's interesting because even with myself, I have a young son, and when I go to pick him up, I size him up first. I'm like, what angle is best for me not to hurt myself, to pick him up and put him in the car seat. And, when I'm picking like a box or anything that's heavy, I'm always looking at it as, what's the easiest way to pick this thing up without hurting myself, without using my lower back or whatnot. And like you said, once you finally activate those muscle groups, it's really almost, like I said, in my opinion, impossible to deactivate them unless you become dormant and don't work out anymore and just let yourself go again.
Right, right. And with the K stations, with the K wall, with the 3-tier cable system and the pivot system, we basically can simulate any movement. So we can simulate that movement of picking up the child. We can simulate the movement of a golf swing and tennis swing. So really understanding that movement, but also being able to stabilize the core and activate those muscles that really need to be able to give that power and strength to keep you safe and to do the best that you can.
So do you have any specialties for different sports, or do you basically train people differently for whatever sport they're trying to improve on? Or
Yes, I actually assess each client that comes in, but we do have sports-specific training that we do with our clients, with volleyball players, lacrosse players, fencers, tennis players, golf players. So there are key movements that everyone can benefit from. And then there's others that, are more specific to the sport, or things that they don't do enough of that they need to have some more balance, that we actually focus on that as well.
And do you have trainers that specialize in different sports and whatnot? You assign the person who's the best fit for that client?
Yeah, that's part of the biggest thing when you have a trainer-client relationship, is really to have the best fit. And we do have different specialists, corrective exercise, golf specialists, sports performance, youth performance. So it is a really beneficial way to have the best results, is by to have a trainer that's going to work with you with your own specific needs. So yes, we do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had actually some golfers and really stabilized their cores, and over the winter, we got strong, and then they came out in the spring, and I had one guy hitting the ball 40 yards further than he was, the prior golf season and whatnot. And basically just the rotation of the body, the moving the body, the core, the squeezing those, core muscles really improved the swing. Because, in golf, it's not just the arms, obviously. And I'm not a golfer, but when I had all these golfers come in, I had to figure out a way to train them. So I looked at, golf players, and I used the weighted bars, and developed this whole crazy golf thing. I had like 5 people that were 5 golfers that came to me. And it was kind of cool because like I said, I don't even golf, but I just looked at the movement. I said, well, what could, increase the power, the strength, the accuracy of the golfer? And I figured out this, system, and it actually worked.
Yeah, we have a system for K training for golfers, and the amount of improvement that the golfers are seeing, not only while they're playing golf, but after they're playing golf, because as you know, golf can be a pretty brutal game. But if you really have that strong core stability and support and a good natural type of swing, you're going to feel better after that golf game too. So you want to be celebrating the golf and also be able to celebrate in a nice, happy, healthy way after.
So how many trainers do you have over there at your facility?
We have about 10 right now. We are growing. For someone that's interested in looking at a new opportunity of K training, it's a fantastic system. More than happy to have someone contact me if they're interested. And our trainers are busy. They have great clientele. They've got a great education behind them, and I'm very, very proud of the team that we have.
So you're in there training people full time too?
I am training people as well because of the system that I've helped to create. It's really essential for me to stay in tune with the clients and to really be a part of the process. As we get bigger, I'll be doing less of the training and doing more of the educational component of it. But at this point in time, as we're growing, we are the flagship studio in the United States. And we're really looking to be growing in the near future.
So do you have, when you bring a new trainer in, do you have a specific program or certification for them that you have to go through? Or do they have to be certified prior to meeting you? Or do you do all that for them, or have your own way of doing it?
Yes, we have certifications that the trainers need to have prior to actually training in Studio K. But then we have our own certification program that they do go through because there are, several key aspects that need to be communicated from the trainer to the client, so they really understand the system. And it is a lengthy process. The first introduction is about 3 days, but then it's about 2 months of real, hands-on training to really understand the system.
And you developed it yourself? You designed the
I
whole...
helped to design the system, and what's really key about it is it incorporates speed, agility, power, and strength as the high-intensity movements, and then balance, flexibility, and core stability as the low intensity. So, trainers are used to certain systems, and this is very different. There's things that you need to really kind of love about the K training program to be able to really embrace it in full. So it's kind of a romance between the trainer and the K-wall before they really can develop into a great relationship.
Now that's important because it's an intimate thing. You're helping somebody with their life, their body. They may be hurt or had a heart attack, and you're trying to help them and preserve their life. So it's not about, I've said it before, buying a loaf of bread. It's not like a simple business transaction. And not to be mean, but I see really a lot of lousy trainers out there. I see a lot of good ones, but I see a lot that really, they're looking around like, what's next? Like, let's just go do biceps. But there has to be an order, in my opinion, at least, of what you're doing, that you should know that day what you're going to do so you can recover from it. If I'm training somebody and the next move for me would be, let's say, a pec fly, and someone's on that pec fly machine, I'm going to either work in or I'm going to wait. I'm not going to say, okay, let's go do legs. It's not leg day, so I can't just, go over to a different exercise. So one thing about me, and this show is about you, but I'm a stickler for form and also format, and I have a design plan for everybody that I stick to, and I'm not going to be swayed from it no matter what. I don't care how crowded the gym is. I don't, care what's going on. I'm not on the phone. I'm there with the client, because they're paying a lot of money for this thing. And it's important to, give your, utmost attention to the client when you're training them. It really is. It's insulting, to walk away from someone during a workout or pick up the phone or eat a power bar or whatever, it's just, so I think like to get, a high-end facility like you have and get up here to a high level in this business, you really have to be very focused on your client.
Absolutely. And a part of our focus is really our heart rate monitoring system. We actually have a heart rate monitoring system that we use with each one of the clients. So as you said, someone that may be recovering from a heart attack, or someone that, may never have exercised before, or even an elite athlete, we're able to actually use that heart rate monitoring system to gauge that high intensity and that low intensity. So that's one of the ways that we really give personal attention and really a keen focus to each one of those clients. And then the other thing that I really think that sets us apart as far as our training system is that we're really paying attention to that form, as you said, but we're keeping that balance between that high intensity and that low intensity. So some people gravitate to power and strength, which is great, but you need that balance and that flexibility and that core stability as well. So with that nice, pairing of the two, we're giving them a well-rounded workout, and the format is always very consistent. We always start out with a dynamic warm-up, really important as the building blocks of all the different high-intensity, low-intensity movements that we do, really focusing on that great form. And then we have our large segment with that high intensity, low intensity movements of all the functional movement patterns. And then we have that cool down, which is really about flexibility and really lengthening that body to really understand how it can have more movement and more adaptability in it. So it really gives a comprehensive program, and we keep that format for all of our clients.
That's great. And when you work on the flexibility, even after the workout, then you've already performed whatever exercise, even if it's weight training, which, I do more of, obviously, than you do. But then you have the flexibility in that muscle and the strength and the durability. So, after your muscles are contracted and all stiff and you walk away, then they're in that healing process where you want to, lengthen them again so your body's back to its normal, status. And you could, not limp out of the gym, but walk out with your head up in the air. That's important for me too. And I like to stretch after the workouts.
Yes, it is key to keeping the body healthy and moving just as we want to all the time through life. So it's a wonderful thing.
So it's great to have you, Susan. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your facility, where it is, the information, so if anybody wants to go down there and meet you and train with you, they could come on by.
Absolutely. We're Studio K Training at 17351 West Sunset Boulevard. That's in Pacific Palisades, California, 90272. You can check us out on the web. It's studioktraining.com. You can reach me directly, Susan at studioktraining.com, if you have any questions. And we'd love to see you. The first session, we have both group training and private training. So if you'd like to come in for a group K training session, please give us a call and we would be happy to entertain a complimentary session for you.
Well, thanks for coming in. And I'm Andy Harlan, and this was Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, the future of radio.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. With me is my co-host, Andy Harlan, the personal trainer. You just did a very nice session, a discussion with Susan Howard about weight training. And you've always been this is what you've always loved. As a real young kid, you just gravitated towards this. Is that it?
Definitely. And as I said in this last interview, I actually spoke to one of my friends that I haven't seen in probably 20 years. And it was our 30th reunion on Saturday, which I couldn't make being in California, and that was in New Jersey. And he was saying, I remember how, you used to train us all in your basement, And I said, yeah, and we spoke about this before. So the Joe Weider 110-pound weight set in my basement, bench pressing 3 days a week. So that's why I got started, just lifting weights, bench pressing and doing your, simple, movements, curls.
Were you like 12, 13 years old when you got rolling with that? Is that it?
9.
Really?
Yeah, I think I started at 9 years old.
You just,
it was just fun, or you had an older relative who said to you, "No, this is good, Andy. You should try it." You saw it on TV. What was the genesis of that?
There's always guys lifting weights, working out and whatnot. And, we'd go in the basement and lift the older brother's weights, and then we got our own. So it was really like growing up in my era, we all lifted weights. It was such an important thing to be strong and how much you benched and whatnot. And as I said, as you get older, how much you bench doesn't really matter.
Right.
And how much you could bench back when I was a kid is so much different than today. Today these guys are, there's a guy who benched over 1,000 pounds,
Really?
Yeah. There is actually, I think the record is 1,074 or something like that, something in that range, actually, believe it or not.
Wow, that's a strong guy.
Yeah, back in the day, if you could bench 300, you were like an animal, an animal. And now 300 is like nothing. I think some guy put up at the NFL Combine 225 pounds. They do it for reps. That's when all the, the top college football prospects for the NFL draft go into this combine and perform different speed, agility, and strength drills. And one of them is benching 225, how many reps you could do in a row. And I think someone did 50-something reps at 225. So
that's actually doable because of a lot of training. In other words, if you really train for it, you can do that much? Is that it? It's just training?
I'm not quite sure whether it's the training. I think it's just, evolution of man. Like we've spoken about before, at the turn of the century, man lived to be 40. Obviously there was wars and what involved in that, but obviously the body lasts longer now.
Right.
So I think that man has evolved. Dietary things have changed. Nutrition, vitamins, as we're into. So I think it's just evolution. That's what I really think it is. The training. I see the young kids working out. They're doing the same stuff I did. It's a matter of just mankind evolving.
Right.
In my opinion, what do you think about that?
Well, people doing well. I know nothing really about weight training. I also bought a Joe Weider set, 110-pound set. I may have mentioned to you, I was about 13 or so, and I bought it at Times Square stores. I'm from New York, and I was only strong enough to carry the bar. Yeah. My father carried the box of weights out the store, which I remember that it was had a smile on his face. My dad, he was carrying these box of weights for me, which I didn't use that much in the basement, but I had them for a long time, and I did look at them occasionally. The weight training that the kids do now is the same weight training that you may have done, because those exercises just work. Is that it? There's certain things that work and other things are fashionable and fall out of fashion, and they go back to the earlier stuff. Is that it?
Well, I think, the weightlifting, the weight training is pretty much the same. There's really not much more to be invented when it comes to, we know how to build each muscle group already, what exercise, emphasizes that muscle group. Mm-hmm. But the other kind of training that Susan does, who we just had on.
Yeah, and, Susan Howard.
Yes, that's also, been brought into the training business. And a lot of these young kids have trainers. No one had a trainer,
right.
Back when I was a kid. Right. You didn't have a trainer. You went, I was the trainer of my friends in my basement. I'd go wake people up and bring them into my basement and work out with them. So, it's, if you could afford your child to have a trainer, great. But they're doing a lot of more functional movements, a lot of this cross training where, there's guys flipping tires over, running around with a sandbag,
Well, what exactly? I heard the term. I don't really know what it means. What does cross training mean? I'm training for football and baseball. Is that it?
It's just a way of working out, not only with weights, but with certain kind of movements, and whether you're jumping up on a box or a platform, or they have one exercise where you take these very heavy ropes, very thick, heavy ropes, as thick as my forearm, and they might weigh the whole rope. The rope could be, 20 feet long, and you wrap it around a pole or whatnot and grab one, end in each hand and shake them up and down. And the rope probably weighs, 40, 50 pounds. So it's, a way to, strengthen your arms up and also, increase your endurance. Or you might take.
What's that called?
It's just an exercise with the rope. The actual.
I've never seen that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, actually, they take tires, like tractor tires, and flip them over. So it'll be lying on its side, and you flip it over and go, 50 yards or 50 feet across the parking lot with it. And these things actually are good for sports, because obviously if you could move quick with a weight on your shoulder or back, then obviously you're going to move faster without it. Mm-hmm. So that's the way that things have changed. Like we talk about the new crazes, of training, and it's more sports effective training these days that I see. Like I said, I was a pure weightlifter, and obviously I had to run and learn how to, get my cardiovascular strength up and whatnot, and I incorporate that with all my clients too. I have my own way of doing things, But like I said, my concern is not hurting somebody. That's my concern, is someone not getting hurt.
Well, that seems like a good thing to pay attention to. As the trainer, you want to make sure that you and your client don't get hurt. Why, you feel there's a lot of injury unnecessarily in the gyms?
Well, it's like I said, you have to keep re-emphasizing the posture. People want to forget. Like I said, you come to this earth crunched over, you grow tall, you crunch back down, you go into the ground. So you got to fight gravity.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to do that, not with only, working out and lifting weights. Just walking around on a regular basis with your head up and good posture, is important.
Yes, it is. Not that I do it, but yes, I agree.
Well, you have very good posture, actually. But I've had, wives come in and then that I've trained and then have women come in and then, brought their husband to me, and they're like, Andy, work on his posture. He's always putting his head down. He never bends his knees, and whatnot, and I guess they see, they might be getting a little bit older, and, they want my help. And if a person has a particular request, something they want to work on specifically, then I will focus on that. Otherwise, I'll check them out, see what they're about, see, what their weaknesses are, and I'll incorporate in my own system. But either way, I'm still going to use my philosophies on the person and train them the way that I would train a person who's in need of whatever they need.
And your philosophy as far as weight training, you're happy with weight training. You feel that the client gets a lot of benefit.
Well, of course, but I'm happy with weight training, but I'm also, or it's important to weight train in my opinion, but also the core is very important too.
What's the core?
The core is the middle of the body, and it's what stabilizes your body. So like if you saw someone running at you, and they were going to push you over, what would you do? You wouldn't stand on one leg. You would shore yourself up. You'd brace yourself. You get what I'm saying? You tighten from your feet to your neck. You'd screw yourself into the ground. Be like, well, I'm going to take this blow. I'm going to absorb it, or maybe possibly even knock them down.
Right.
So it's about having a very good base. It's like a foundation, like in a house. If you had, the foundation is the strongest part of a building. That's what, centers that whole building, So you need to really have a strong base in any sport, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, and anything, and I've said it before, like to have a good stance, if you're a batter, get in the box, get your feet set, use your whole body. What's stronger, your arms by themselves or your arms with the use of your body? If you rotate your body and not just use your arms, obviously you have more power behind you. Because you're using, your whole entire body. So it's important to have a very strong base, a good base when you're working out and even when you're picking up a box. It's just, you don't want to blow your stuff out, bend it over in an awkward position.
Right. You were chatting with Susan Howard just in the last session, and you talked about how you helped a number of people who were golfers. And so when you had to focus on the golfers, did you think, okay, maybe I'll make them be able to stretch better? Or what was your thinking? Were you trying to strengthen their arms? What were you trying to do with the golfers?
Well, I was trying to strengthen their whole body, but also kind of align their arms with their body, make them like one unit. So your arms are connected to your body. So obviously, you don't just swing the golf club with your arms. You got to rotate your hips and rotate your body. Even like a boxer doesn't just, throw his arms out, like throwing a ball. He's got that power, that waistline behind him. He's got his feet in a certain direction and a good stance. So with the golfers, what I really actually did was there's these weighted bars, and they're probably 4 or 5 feet. They can get from 2 to 5 feet long. And they're padded and they're weighted from a pound to 25 pounds. Mm-hmm. So I use that to replicate the golf club, and I would do all these rotational moves while holding the weighted bar. And I had one thing that I called 4 degrees of the swing, where the golfer would take the club, simulate his swing, his actual swing, his natural swing, and draw the bar back a quarter of his swing and hold it for 10 seconds without dropping it down, though, without it shaking.
I see.
And then go the next 25% and then go all the way to the top, and it really stabilized the body, because it's not just your arms, it's your whole body that you have to squeeze to hold that that weighted bar.
Well, that seems like a good idea, this way they get a nice smooth swing and they hit the ball straight as opposed to into the grass.
I guess, yeah. But not being a golfer, I got a lot of good feedback from that system that I developed.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, but the old school thing is, the old school trainers, most of them just lift weights, and now it's become such a craze with, from the Pilates ball to the kinesis wall and whatnot, and this stuff is effective, and I use some of that, but my whole thing is to mix everything up. Just like if someone was coming to your store and they had certain ailments or certain problems, you don't just say, well, here's a multivitamin. Then you would say, well, you should be on a multivitamin, right? But you should also take this for that. And
well, Andy, don't get me in trouble, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
But you're the expert on that, but you know what I'm saying. Right. Just, there's certain people have specific needs,
right,
and you have to address them separately. You can't just say, well, just take this and you're fine. You'll be fine.
And let's say some guy comes to visit you, he wants you to train, and maybe, he's not really working out. He's a little on the, puffy side. He's kind of chubby. And what can you do for him to give this guy tone? And what do you work on first when you want to have a client and you want to give him some results right away, so that the client will think, okay, I'm gonna stay with that Andy. That seems good. So what is kind of the first things you do with a guy who's just, kind of chubby and just not really in great shape and needs to get toned up?
Well, I think initially,
it's a broad question.
No, yeah. It's initially I'm going to ask them what they eat. First off, if they've worked out, or if they do work out, when's the last time they worked out, what they did. I'm going to find everything out about them that I can, what their cholesterol is, what their, if they have any, medical issues or whatnot, and I will do a weight training, core training, and cardiovascular training all at once. I do the whole thing at once. I jump right into it. They'll be on the bike. They'll be jumping around a little bit, doing some exercises for the core and lifting weights. And then I address the dietary side of it, which at first is, as I said to you before, if you remember, it could be awkward because, some people actually, I don't know if they really don't know. Like, I don't know how a person at 50 doesn't know what's good or bad for them to eat, but I think maybe they might be denying that truth to themselves just because they don't want to believe that what they're doing is wrong, so.
Well, there could be some of that, but a lot of people really, they focus on other issues. They're really very good in one area, and they don't focus on the wellness stuff that you and I focus on because it's fun for us. And so a lot of people really, they say, really? Soda is bad for me? They have no idea. And you think, hey, what year is this? But yeah, they had no idea soda is bad for them. So I really see that. People just really, they don't know.
Well, some people say, well, I drink diet soda.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've had people that drink, and to each his own,
Right.
I'm not perfect either. So
the diet soda isn't very good for you. It's just obviously as bad for you as regular soda. It's a bad choice. And people need to hear, no, that's a bad choice. I'd rather you drank Mountain Valley water or Castle Rock spring water or any Poland Spring mineral water, any water you enjoy, anything except soda or diet soda.
Yeah, and I've had some people that, lost a lot of weight just cutting out diet soda, believe it or not.
Yes.
Because there's nothing really natural in it. There's nothing that enhances the body or lengthens your life in a diet soda. If you look at the label, there's 50 things in it. If you had you could take seltzer and pour some sugar in it, and then and add some some cranberry juice to it, then you got a soda.
You completely do. So when let's say a guy comes to you to be trained and says, listen, Andy, I'm kind of puffy and I need to be in better shape. Would you like to work out with him twice a week, 3 times a week, once a week? I mean, obviously if you work out 3 or 4 times a week, it's better, but can you get good results in twice a week?
Obviously there's an affordability issue involved. So, if the person's like, money's no option, I'm not trying to, I charge the same for everybody. And if someone, really needs my help, I'll even, give them a break just to help them out, with the weight training, I like to do that 3 days a week. But I train people 7 days a week. I had one guy 7 days a week, 2 hours a day.
Wow.
So and that was a lot of cardiovascular stuff because as I said before, I'm not going to overtrain somebody. I'm not going to work on a muscle group that's already been worked a day or two earlier. It's not ready to be worked on again. It's not healed yet. So you have to devise a system where you're doing something different or something that's not damaging to the body. Because when the body's in its healing, repairing state, it's vulnerable to injury because it's not, as strong as it was prior to working it. If you get what I'm saying.
I do, yes.
So.
And this guy 7 days a week, was he an actor trying to get in shape or something for movies?
He was trying to be an actor, actually, yeah, and he was really serious about getting in shape and went all out on it, and actually got very strong. Lost a lot of weight, got very strong, but it was 2 hours a day as well. So It was 14 hours a week of training with just this one guy,
That's a lot of training, for goodness sake.
It was a lot, and actually, when I'm doing prepping an actor for like a movie role, which I do, that's how I actually, as I told you the first time I met you and was interviewed by you, that's how I got into this business was, getting an actor in shape for a movie. And that was like, it was like already being shot. So it was really like, we had to go crazy. The diet thing started that day. The first couple days, I knew that we had a certain amount of time, not a lot. And I knew that if I really hit it too hard on the first couple days, then we'd be dead for the rest of the week. So the first couple days, I kind of just walked into it. And I said, let's walk, then we'll jog, then we'll run. And he was like, well, Andy, we don't have a lot of time here, man. Like, we didn't really do that much. I go, trust me. In a few days, in a week, you won't be saying that.
Right.
So that was like a 2-hour-a-day thing, and just, running on the beach, lifting weights, me with him, me working out with him, right next to him, running next to him, yelling, screaming, telling him to get ready for the big payday, like making him into an action hero, and, broadening his status as an actor, not just to be a certain character, but now, you have guys that aren't really athletes and aren't athletic, and they get in shape and they become like, an FBI agent in a movie,
Right.
So they should look like that if they're going to play that, obviously.
Right.
So that's really cool stuff, because they want to do it, and it's great when you have somebody who's motivated and wants to go all out. That's the best client there is. You have the one that like knows they should be there but needs to be motivated. They're like, wow, man, I'm having a hard time going up a flight of stairs. I can't breathe. All I want to do is eat, and now you want me to do all this, and I'm like, just let me tell you this: do it for 2 weeks. If you do this for 2 weeks and don't lose any weight or don't feel better, then you can go and keep doing what you've been doing, But if you listen to what I'm saying, you're going to lose weight, especially a person that's very heavy. If you're, 100 or 150 pounds overweight,
right,
it's not hard to lose 5 pounds in one day. You got to realize that. You got a 300-pound person, 350-pound person, they could lose a lot of weight in one day. A person to maintain that kind of girth, that kind of weight, it's like a bodybuilder maintaining his muscle. You got to work hard at it.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, you have to really be bad for a long time to have that carry around that much weight.
Yeah.
And by the way, in this period of time you had with this particular actor, were the producers and directors happy with you because you kind of got him a better body in a short amount of time?
Oh no, they love me. I did my job, and I got pretty good results. But as I said, I like to get a real early start on these kind of jobs. I don't want to. This film, was actually already being shot, so and they were unhappy with what was going on or whatnot, or needed to make some changes, so they brought me in the middle of the film. And well, the thing about shooting a film obviously is you have the luxury of shooting the end before at the beginning,
Right.
in the beginning, so you can move things around. And you know what, like if the guy had long hair, shoot that part first and shave his head, and then he's got a crew cut at the end.
Right.
So but they were happy with me, and that actually ended up evolving into me, really getting into this business, because I really never had any intention at all of being a personal trainer. I just worked out for myself. That's really all I cared about. I never was certified till I did that gig, and it just took over. And, it was a good fit for me, working with some of the entertainment people, being that that's what my actual goal was initially, was to be an actor, and I am a SAG actor. So it was cool. It was cool. A very demanding job. If you do it right, it's very demanding, and it's very hard to stay in good shape. And as I said, we saw with the heavier people, they're the ones that really need the help and the motivation. Usually it's they went to the doctor and got some bad news, or their wife is on their case, or their husband's on their case,
Right.
which you should be. If you love somebody and they're like feeling
Right.
bad or in serious condition where they have a health issue, why wouldn't you motivate them or prompt them to do something about it?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And I like to use the term loving nagging. It's someone appropriate in your life, your wife, your children, your mom, your dad, your sister, someone who's very close to you says, hey, listen, this is not a good idea. All this Coca-Cola you're scarfing down, and, maybe we should move to something different. It's nice. And also I think most people kind of are happy when someone kind of pays a little bit of attention and says, listen, that's not a great idea. We can do this and you'll be happier. And that's a very loving thing and a very nice thing to do, and I'm in favor of it. But when you've been on the show, when we had Franco Colombo a couple of weeks ago, and Franco was commenting that people like to really work on their arms and chest. Guys especially like to work on arms and chest. Is that what most people really say? No, work on my arms and chest. I want to have big arms and chest. Is that it?
Well,
is that what we all want? Arms and chest?
Well, those are the most noticeable.
Yeah.
Everybody, and how much do you bench? That's the first thing. Andy, how much you bench? I'm like, I don't even bench anymore. I use dumbbells. I do dumbbell presses. But a lot of people hate doing legs. That's what I get the most. I got to do legs today.
Why? It's just they don't do it
I don't
much?
know. It's just the most ignored body part. For the average person when they're training. It really is, and that's what I found. There's people that love doing legs, but I found in my career that most people, like, I don't really like doing legs, but I do them anyway. I just, it's not my favorite thing to do. But, you need to keep your body even.
Mhm.
You don't want to be like a chicken hawk. You want to have,
Right.
your legs match your upper body, So I'll work the whole body. And the lower half of your body supports the upper half. The front supports the back. If you have the whole thing in line and connected, then you're going to feel better and you're going to function better. It's just a fact. A running back, that has a strong upper body but weak legs isn't going to get much yardage in that game.
No.
And if he has very strong legs and a very weak upper body, when he gets hit, he's going to get plowed over. So that's important to work the whole entire body. It really is.
So if I'm going to work the body, if I'm going to work the leg specifically, I just can't say walk or something. Just walking just doesn't really do it. I have to do machines that give me a certain definition or something.
Well, think of this. The average person that comes in, let's say someone came in 100 pounds overweight, just to give an example, right?
That's a lot of weight to carry around,
with whatever, any medical condition you want to mention, anything from heart disease to high cholesterol to anything you want to mention, right? What do they do all day?
Sit, probably.
Well, but what about when they have to get up and get in their car? They walk. There's people are walking. You may be sitting most of the day, but people walk all the time in their daily life.
Right.
I see people that are, really very obese walking up and down the road every day when I'm driving to the gym or, picking my kids up, and they're still overweight. So walking isn't really necessarily, if you don't walk at all, then obviously that's better than nothing.
Right.
But just to walk is
not enough for you?
No, it's what you do anyway. It's a natural thing, a natural function of the body. You're going to walk around all day. So, right. But some people actually, if you think about it, they can't run. They might have bad knees
right.
or bad joints or a bad heart. And the doctor might say, well, I want this guy, and I'll call the doctor. They might say, well, Andy, I want him to work out, but I don't want his heart rate to get above whatever, rate that they tell me. So I say, well, obviously I can't push this person too hard or they might have a heart attack, because if their heart, beats too fast, it'll explode.
Especially if you have some very, very person 100 pounds overweight. That's a lot of weight to carry around.
It is. No, it is a lot of weight, and I want to help the people. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm
right.
here to, that's my job. My life is helping people and trying to extend their lives. So I don't hold that against anybody. I don't care what anybody does. You do what you want to do with your life. If you want my help, I'll help you. To my utmost ability. Right. But when you see something like that, it's sad. I've had some really cool people come in who, I've had people come in their late 60s that never worked out, that are facing all kinds of different surgical procedures and whatnot. And I get them in there, I keep them going. And as I said before, most of them in the end give up, or their wife's dragging them back in, or they can't afford it. And that's fine. Whatever your circumstance is fine with me. But when you're with me, I'm going to do my best to help you out. And I'm going to really also work on the things, obviously, let me tell you something. I'll tell you right now, I'm a very strict eater. And my kids are on pretty good diets. I can't be that strict because they're young kids, growing up with SpaghettiOs and Chef Boyardee and Velveeta. I remember eating Velveeta by the fistful as a kid, but so you can't be that strict, you can't be that strict, but when you can really start at a young age. And
but you had no real guidance when you were a boy. I mean, now you wouldn't want to give your kids Velveeta and that stuff. You think, oh, this is not good for my son, Andy. This is not good, and no one's really guiding you. They didn't really know. I'm not trying to, isn't that true? So you know more than the generation that raised you.
Well, it's still even like some say, well, red meat, that's got protein, that's good for you.
Right.
There's people that have a very low cholesterol naturally that aren't prone to that.
Right.
So they can eat red meat and never have any problems at all.
Right.
But there's people that, can eat chicken and turkey and fish all day and have a problem, just because it could be, genetic.
Yes.
So you have to really go by each person individually, right. That's the thing with that. So it really, as I said in my first interview with you, the people are shocked because I'll come in and I'll print out a diet. I have all kinds of diets that I, give out to people and workouts, and, I'll print it out and I'll bring it in and I'll give an example of 2 different, meals for breakfast, 2 for lunch, 2 for dinner. And then I'll put categories of carbs, proteins, condiments, drinks, and I'll be then I'll say, well, obviously I can't make every meal for you. So pick one of those, and formulate your own diet,
sure.
And they're like, wow, I never even heard of that, and I'll put 50 different kinds of fish on there, you know what I'm saying? But, they might want to eat a fried fish or,
right.
and I'm like, well, no frying. I'm like, no butter. Right. And, and they say, well, that's what I've been doing my whole life. And I say, well, I'm here to help you out. And obviously, that's what got you here. That's
fair.
You walked in the door. Well, I walk every day. Like you said about walking, you walked in the door, but you didn't lose weight from that. I mean, you can walk all day, but if you eat more calories than you burned, then you're going to gain weight.
Yeah, and eating, it's funny because, we humans are fish eaters. Humans have always eaten a lot of fish. Now, of course, we're polluting the oceans. It's really, unfortunately, an issue. But humans have always eaten fish. And then people say, oh, yeah, we're going to eat fish too. Yeah, but we eat fried fish all the time. And you're thinking, oh, no, not fried fish. Anything but fried fish. I hate to make a joke about fried food, but fried food, unfortunately, does contribute to a lot of health problems. And the foods that are cooked at very high temperatures seem to be problematic for health. And so, eat something steamed or something like that. But fried, maybe once in a while. But really, the less you eat of that, you just feel better almost immediately without that stuff. So
I agree.
Well, Andy Harlan, it's fun having you on as my co-host on Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. Andy's going to have a regular spot here on the show. And my name is Josh Lane. And we're going to take a short break. And we'll be right back after these important messages.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Indian Tyler inviting you to join me beginning April 9th every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity. Join me as we go beyond the vanity and discuss the real-life issues of beauty. And it gets really real. So on April 9th, don't forget to tune in to Indian Tyler's Beyond the Vanity, Wednesdays at 2 p.m., exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Live 365, Radio Flag, and AHA Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. It is my great pleasure with this segment. We're going to have Dr. Scott Fogel. He's a naturopath, graduate of school in Portland, and he is in charge of laboratory services for Life Extension Foundation out of Florida. This is the new edition from Life Extension, Disease Prevention and Treatment. It's the fifth edition. Those of you who are familiar with Life Extension work, they have a great magazine, they have products, they are responsible, frankly, for introducing the public to melatonin, to DHEA. I think they were one of the first, if not the first, to introduce us to coenzyme Q10. They really have a remarkable track record as far as introducing Americans and the world to the importance of nutrition. And what I also enjoy about Life Extension is they're not a doctrinaire. They will use medication that they feel is appropriate. They'll use nutrients that they feel appropriate. They have no particular axe to grind. They just want people to be healthy. And frankly, they have had been controversial in that they have really gone after the medical profession for what they feel are certain errors that the medical profession has made, and they want to point it out to the American population. Is Dr. Fogel on the line yet? No. Richard is running the board today, and Dr. Fogel has not called in just yet. Let me just mention that Dr. Scott Fogel was recently featured on the Suzanne Summers show. He was on, I think, 3 times, and Suzanne Summers has a show on the Lifetime channel. And Dr. Suzanne, and I'm sorry, not Dr. Suzanne, but Suzanne Summers, the actor who is in Three's Company, very popular. And then, of course, one of the most popular American commercials of all time, the Thigh Master. Suzanne Summers advertising the Thigh Master, which is just fantastic commercial, frankly. She did a very nice job of that. And Suzanne Summers remains a strong proponent of progressive wellness, and she's taken some abuse for that too, especially 15, 20 years ago when the subject was less popular. People said, well, how dare this woman talk about nutrition? After all, she's not a physician, as though you have to be a physician to speak about nutrition. And Suzanne Summers was knocked by a few people, but now, frankly, years later, 20 years later, people are listening to Suzanne, and her ideas have been credible, and her ideas have been kind of progressive, quite frankly. So, kind of a big fan of Suzanne Summers myself. I like what she represents. Okay. Rich, I think we'll just take it down. We're going to take a very short break and wait for Dr. Fogel to give us a phone call.
I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
How's it going?
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, it's Josh Lane. We're back. This is Here's to Your Health. on the LA Talk Live Broadcast Network. Unfortunately, Dr. Fogel has not called in from Life Extension, so we'll just reschedule them. Again, this is the brand new edition, Disease Prevention and Treatment from Life Extension, which, you see the books and magazines around everywhere. They really do a lovely job. I apologize that he is not on the line right now, but we'll have him back in a week or two. If you have any questions, you can always give me a call. My name is Josh Lane, and my phone number is 818-707-0005. 818-707-0005. Happy to answer any of the questions for you that I can. And if you'd like to email me, my email is Joshua, Joshua, at latalklive.com. Joshua at latalklive.com. I'd like to thank you for your time, and we're going to be wrapping up slightly earlier today than usual, and we'll be back next week here on Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.